That's gotta come from upstairs. But it's not, it's, I don't have any authority over administrating who pays what and who got. That's Anthony Moretti's job, not mine. How were you doing? So before you were just including planning on the thing, right? We're on
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. In accordance with section 3.07 of the Home Rule Charter, I hereby call the special meeting of the City Council to be held on Monday, June 6, 2022 at 5:45 PM to order. Madam Clerk, would you mind please taking the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Present.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine, Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano, Councilman Riley,
Present.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present. Tonight's meeting is strictly ministerial, I guess, in order to forward the following ordinances to a special finance committee meeting to be held on June 16th. And then the following items: 622-01S ordinance authorizing loan order of the city of Cranston to finance the acquisition, construction, improvement, renovation, repair, and alteration of public buildings by the issuance of not more than $3 million in bonds. S22-02-S ordinance authorizing a loan order for the city of Cranston to finance the acquisition of fire equipment for the city's fire department by the issuance of not more than $2 million in bonds. S22-03S ordinance authorizing a loan order for the city of Cranston to finance the acquisition, construction, improvement, renovation, repair, alteration, and equipping of playground and athletic fields in the city of Cranston by the issuance of not more than $3.5 million in bonds. And finally, S-22-04S ordinance authorizing a loan order for the city of Cranston to finance the construction, improvement, renovation, repair, and alteration of city infrastructure by the highway department by the issuance of not more than $4 million in bonds. I will entertain a motion to forward those four items to the finance committee on June 16th for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, please note for the record, Council Member Jermaine is here. And also for the record, Council Member Campopiano has an excused absence. He's not feeling well, so due to illness, he's not here this evening. Certainly wish you well, Council Member Campopiano. He is on Zoom, but he can't talk per open meetings. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? I see no opposed. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. The next meeting will be at 6 PM, Safety Services and Licensing Committee. Thank you.
Evening and welcome to the Safety Services and Licenses Committee meeting for Monday, June 6th. I'll ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Present?
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilman Campiano, Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Okay, before we go through the docket for the regular meeting, I would like to just take a moment to recognize someone that we would typically recognize at a full council meeting, but since I think it's more relevant today and the full council meeting is in a couple of weeks, I just wanted to recognize the passing of Cranston teacher, coach, someone that a colleague for probably all of us, Paul Bucci, has passed away. And I just wanted to ask for a moment of silence and some thoughts for his family. Thank you. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Thank you. Tonight, we have a substantial docket, and I would like to entertain a motion to take the docket out of order so that we can move the show cause to the beginning of the meeting and let the detectives leave.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is a show cause for food and fuel. Is there anyone present from that establishment, either on Zoom or in the audience today? It's for food and fuel. So I will turn this over to Mr. Verdecchia.
Is Umar Salim present? Mr. Salim. So Madam Chairwoman, I received a communication actually just before the meeting started from the clerk who indicated that an attorney, LaPlante, had called her and indicated this was about 3 o'clock, that he would be unable to make tonight's hearing. However, he was going to have his client be present. The client was notified of tonight's hearing. So I am going to proceed in his absence. If he comes, we'll take it up then. But I've got a sergeant from the Cranston Police Department here. We have the committee fully assembled. Proper notice was given. Someone should be here. So I'm going to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
So on behalf of the city, I'd like to call Sergeant Lori Sweeney. Good evening, Sergeant. Heather, you want to swear?
Turn your microphone on, to the green light. Be closer into it. Should be a green light, like green.
How's that? Oh, there you go.
Good evening, Sergeant. And Madam Chair, and also for members of the committee, I would like to just give you a brief overview of why we're here and what I expect the evidence to show, just so you have a better flavor as to what this is about. So basically, the allegation being made by the city is that Mr. Salim is the owner, license holder of two establishments, one called Quality Fuel, which is located on Cranston Street. It's a convenience store which sells, I believe, gasoline, tobacco, and food items. The other is a Speedy Mart, which, Sergeant, if you could help me out, where is that located, the Speedy Mart?
Warwick Avenue. I believe it's
Warwick
95.
Avenue in Cranston. So this is the same owner for both establishments. And the sergeant will testify as to various compliance checks that were initiated by the Cranston Police Department, I believe, beginning in December of last year and continuing through May of this year. And she will reveal what those compliance checks revealed. So that's just a general overview of what this particular show cause hearing is about. So with that being said, Sergeant, can you just give the committee just a brief overview of what your duties are for the Cranston Police Department, what your duties are?
Okay, so back in December, or actually November of 2021, my division, the Special Victims Unit, was given the duty to do compliance checks throughout the city for tobacco or alcohol. So we went out to do those starting in December. The reason why we started with Quality Fuel is because we got anonymous tips that he was selling to underage kids under the age of 21, the products. So we went to him first. We went in 3 consecutive days, once in December, twice in January, separating it by like 7 to 10 days apart. And each and every time he sold to the juvenile party.
Let me stop you there, Sergeant, just to sort of better organize the testimony. So as a preliminary matter, Sergeant, and for the edification of the committee, what is the legal age in the state of Rhode Island for a person to be able to purchase or be sold tobacco?
21.
Okay. And you mentioned the term compliance check. Could you just expand a little bit on what that means, compliance check?
So we go out to various either tobacco or alcohol. We send in a juvenile decoy. We make sure that the establishment is not selling, checking IDs, just following what the state law wants them to do. So we send out that juvenile. My detectives are right outside with them. They either come back with a product or they don't.
So just to clarify then, the purpose of the compliance check is to ensure, or rather to find out whether or not a business establishment, any given business establishment, is complying with Rhode Island law as it relates to the sale of tobacco or alcohol to juveniles. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
And just so the record's clear, this particular gentleman wasn't specifically targeted, correct? I mean, he
No.
was part of a general compliance type of investigation. Is that fair to say?
Correct. We have hit every single licensee in the city of Cranston.
Okay. So let me first direct your attention then to December, and specifically December 30th of 2021. And at approximately 17:22 hours, which I believe military time would put it about 5:30 in the afternoon. Is that correct? And am I correct in saying that a compliance check was conducted at the Quality Fuel at 873 Cranston Street through the use of a juvenile decoy?
Correct.
And what was the result of that compliance check with the use of the juvenile decoy?
When they went in, they came out with tobacco products, a jewel product, I believe. I'd have to look at my notes exactly.
Okay. So the juvenile, and so the record's clear, this juvenile decoy was under the age of 21.
Correct.
And that juvenile was able to access the quality fuel and purchase tobacco products. Is that your testimony?
Yes,
Okay. And to your knowledge, was identification ever requested or checked by any employee of the quality fuel establishment at that time?
they were not.
And was a citation written for that particular violation?
Yes.
Now let me skip forward a little bit to January 28th of 2022. And this was approximately 09:30 hours, which I'm assuming would be in the morning. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And again, yourself, and I believe this time there were some state representatives who again conducted a compliance check at 873 Cranston Street
Correct.
again. And can you just give the committee some background as to what was found on that particular date with regard to that particular check?
So once we gave because there was 3 violations, we went, like I testified already, we went a couple more times in the early month of January. We went to the store to give them the violations. We also brought the state representative with us as well. When we went in, what we found was a bunch of flavored electronic jewels inside the store, which is illegal. Can't sell illegal electronic flavored. I'm not an expert on how much that is, but the state representative did indicate it was approximately $30,000 to $40,000 worth of product in there that he shouldn't have been selling.
And the state representative who accompanied you that day, would that be Investigator Dan Salzillo from the Department of
Yes.
Revenue?
Yes.
I'm still referencing the quality fuel. You mentioned that there were 2 other citations in addition to the December citation. Is that correct?
Yes.
And could you just give the committee just a brief overview, an approximation when those dates
Yes.
were and when those offenses occurred, if you could?
So on January 3rd, we sent in another decoy. On January 10th, we did the same. And on May 12th, we did the same location, quality fuel. Decoy went in, never asked, the cashier never asked for any identification, was sold the product, came out with the product.
And again, I asked this question before, but I'll ask it again for the record. So on either of those occasions, did either yourself or any other member of the Cranston Police Department observe anyone from the quality fuel establishment either request or examine an identification of the juvenile decoy?
It did not. Just to reference that, if they're required when they ask, they're required to tell them their true age. They're required to say, I'm such and such an age, or I don't have an ID. They're required to. They can't say that they're 21, don't worry about it. They are required by the compliance checks that they have to tell them what their true age is. So at no time were they ever asked that.
Okay. So let me just shift gears a little bit because it is the same owner to the other 2 citations which concerned the Speedy Mart on Warwick Avenue. So I believe the first incident which resulted in the issuance of a citation occurred on February 10th. And the second was on May 12th. No, I'm sorry. Yes, May 12th of 2022. Could you tell the committee briefly what the facts were with regard to those 2 compliance checks?
They're all done in the same way. So again, they go with 2 detectives, 1 juvenile decoy, 2 detectives. They go to the store, the decoy goes in, requests a tobacco product. And again, on both those occasions, the juvenile decoy came out with tobacco product, never being asked for an ID.
Sergeant, is it fair to say that the last compliance check would have been conducted approximately on May 12th of 2022? Have there been any since then?
There has not been since then.
Now, I believe the license holder has a June 17th court date in the municipal court
Correct.
in order to answer to the various citations that were written. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if it's every single one, but for a few of them, yes.
And those citations, were they written based on the ordinances of the city of Cranston? In other words, were those based on violations of Cranston's ordinances?
Yes.
To your knowledge, have any citations or violations or complaints been issued by the state with regard to this matter?
I believe there's an investigation going on. What has transpired from that, I do not know. I can't testify to that.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant. I don't have any further questions unless the committee has some questions of the sergeant.
Anyone have any questions? Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm trying to get educated as we go along and based on your testimony as well. What is the case right now? Is their license been removed in terms of selling cigarettes? How does that work?
Well, his first court date to actually, well, he has had court date and they've been continued, but June 17th will be the result of something.
Thank you, Sergeant.
You're welcome.
At this point in time, Madam Chair, the sergeant put together a package of the incident reports of each of the citations and the dates that she had mentioned. They're here. I would ask that this package be made part of the record, and please do it by motion to accept this and make it part of the record.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the evidence into the record?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Madam Chair, before I get to the suggested disposition of this matter, which I would like to present to the committee, I did notice a couple of gentlemen walked in. So before we get to that point, I just want to double check to see if Mr. Salim is now here. Is that you, Mr. Salim?
Mr. Salim,
Come up,
can you
please.
Please come forward to the podium.
Madam Chair, let's swear the witness, please.
Mia Salim. Okay. Okay. Mia Salim. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Mia Salim, M-I-A-N. Last name is S-A-L-E-E-M.
Who is the other gentleman with you, sir?
Yeah, I'm his brother, Muhammad Salim. Yeah.
Well, who is the license holder? Is it
Actually, we
Mian
both-
Salim? Mian, you hold the license?
Yeah, we both the partners, so.
Right, but maybe I can refer to the clerk. Can we establish who is the actual license holder?
The applicant for the tobacco and also the other license for the victualling, we have listed as Umar M. Salim.
It's me, that's right.
Okay, I'm a little confused. You said your first name was spelled M-I-A-N?
A-N,
So who is
That's it.
Umar, U-M-A-R.
Middle is, Umar is my middle name.
Okay, okay. And you applied for the licenses, sir?
Yes.
You? Do you go by Mian or Umar?
Mostly is Mia, but they did Umar, I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, I'm going to say Mr. Salim is a token of respect. I just don't want to get confused with the two of you. When I say Mr. Salim, unless I indicate otherwise, I'm referring to you, okay?
Yep.
All right, so Mr. Salim, let me ask you this first off. You have an attorney who's represented you with regard to these citations over in the municipal court?
Yes, sir.
Who is your attorney? What's his name?
It's Tom Golick. Golick,
Tommy Gulick,
Tommy Golick. Yep.
G-U-L-I-C-K?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know Mr. Gulick. He had left a message today that he couldn't make it tonight. But he said that you would be attending, okay, sir? So I don't know what discussions you had with him. I don't want to know, other than you understand what this proceeding is and why you're here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just want to tell you that the city, you arrived late and we began, okay, because we didn't know if you were coming or not. So the city has put on its case, okay? And Sergeant Sweeney of the Cranston Police Department has testified to this committee with regard to various compliance checks that the Cranston Police Department did between December and May
Yes, sir.
of this year. Okay?
Yes.
And it's the position of the police department and the city that on several of those occasions, your business establishments, whether it was Quality Fuel or Speedy Mart, was selling tobacco products to underaged individuals. Okay?
Okay.
Now, you don't have to say anything, okay? But we have presented that evidence. If you have anything that you wish to dispute, or you have any evidence of your own you wish to put on, I'm giving you that opportunity to do it, sir. I'm not trying to force you.
Okay.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but the city has taken a position. It's going to be up to the committee as to whether they accept the evidence that's been presented here.
Okay.
But I will tell you that there were at least 6 occasions where the Cranston Police found that no employee of yours was asking for identification, asking about age, nothing. They were selling tobacco products to minors. That is a violation of Rhode Island law.
Yes.
Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
So do you have anything you wish to offer to this committee by way of explanation or mitigation?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of concerns. The concern is last year, when we received the summons from the Cranston Police Department, officer come in one day and hand over my employee 3 different summons in my name. Summon number CO8378, summon number CO8379, summon number CO8380. How is can possible they check in within a 1 day or 1 week and give us summons in 1 day? Not like this time they did, officer came, the guy got served, he come after 5 minutes in the store and give the summon. I understand. We check the video. Yes, we did make a mistake. But how can possible we have a 3 summons in same sequence, 78, 79, and 80, and one happen is 24 of December, one happen is 27 December, and one happen is January 2nd or 3rd. The officer come and give us 3 summons in one time. I have it this here.
I understand, but you're talking about procedure, which your lawyer can explain to you about the procedure. I'm asking you about the merits, in other words, the truth of the allegations. We could talk about the procedure
Mhm.
later, but that's not what this hearing is about. This hearing is about whether or not you have any evidence that to contradict the Cranston Police Department's testimony that on several occasions, 6 altogether, that someone, whoever it was working for you, sold tobacco to underaged individuals, sir.
Yes, so when we receive a first time the notice, we take all the action, we fire the employee. We put all the signs in the store, 21, under 21, no sir for anything. She just make a mistake again, we fired this girl again and we hired the new people. My manager here with me, he checked. Now we are very strict about the IDs. We watch very closely our video recording. We put strong cameras over there. Now we put one more scanner to make sure the ID system. We
Let me-
have a couple of store, sorry.
No, go ahead, finish, please.
We have a couple store, Rhode Island. We have Providence, Warwick, Coventry. We have a store in different states, but we never have this kind of issue before. Only we are very strict now, more than before and ever. And the only my concern is you say that 6 different occasions, but my concern is what ticket we got last week. This is, we check the video, that's we have a record. Yeah, she didn't ask the ID. But this one, when we got it after 2 weeks, we don't have a recording, we can't check anything.
Let me ask you this, sir. What training, if any, do you give to your employees who are working behind the counter when it comes to checking identification before they sell tobacco products? What
We do,
training
sir.
do they receive, if any?
So when we hire them, we train with the previous guy as a manager or whatever worked before. So tell them, somebody come buy the product, doesn't matter, it's like 30, 40 years old, make sure, check the ID. We are very strict about that. And we are mostly no time there. We hire the people, we train them. I don't know why they make laziness. It's very easy to simple just ask the ID. It's a couple of words.
Let me ask you this. Is there a machine, maybe a copy machine or something that is located behind the counter so that when they request an ID, they can make a copy of it, put it in a file, so now we have proof that they asked for that ID? Is that procedure ever been implemented?
No,
Okay, so you don't have anything like that.
but we have a scanner system. They scan the ID now when they.
Let me talk, sir. Can I talk in behalf of-
You can explain, sure.
As I'm his brother-
We're just gonna swear you in, sir.
Okay. Okay, my name is Muhammad Salim. I'm his brother and have a partnership in that gas station too. So my whole. Yes, I do.
So you were, sir, Mr. Salim, Mohammed Salim, you were explaining that there are scanners which are
Yes.
installed at these 2 locations?
Yes, we do have a scanners, but we have a default key. So our employee by pressing the default key, because in a gas station, is it not possible you can just take a photocopy and serve a next customer because everybody in a rush. But we do have strictly, like either they have to scan their ID or they have to put manually now. Like they definitely have to ask the ID after we receive the last violation. But my whole concern is tell you, like you guys, like we have no attention to make any kind of revenue to sell to the minors.
Well,
That's totally mistake happens with all our employees, but we strictly take action. So it's never happen again.
well, respectfully, sir, and I appreciate that, but this wasn't just 1 or 2 or even
Yes,
3.
so-
This was several that we know of. That's only what we know of. There could be others we don't
I
know of.
totally understand. But the thing is, as he mentioned, like we received the one letter which has already 3 in. That's the time we first knew like what exactly happens, like we then opened the mail. So we found out like 3 violation all comes in one letter. So that's the first time we knew like we have that violation. We, as he mentioned, we have gas station in other states too. But technically, sometime, yes, our store get caught because the laziness of the employees, because they don't want to check, but we have a proper system in each gas station. And now strictly, I went in each gas station and changed the setting. Either they have to put the ID manually or either scan. Otherwise, they cannot make the transaction.
How long have you had that process in place?
It's already up and running now. Like
When was it installed?
technically, it comes with the new device, but somehow it comes with the new system already. It was inside the system, but they have a default setting. Like when they press default, so they can process the transaction, but now they could not, unless they have to put the manual ID or scan the ID through the scanner.
What are your hours of operation at Quality Fuel?
24 hours.
24 hours?
Recently, yes, we just got approved from city.
What about Speedy Mart? Is that also 24?
No,
What are the hours?
It's 5 to 12.
5 a.m. to 12 p.m.?
Yeah, 12 a.m. Yes.
You stand in front of the microphone, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So you have a food victualling license, you have an extended hours license at the Cranston Street location,
Yes, sir.
as well as a tobacco license.
Yes, sir.
And at the Warwick Avenue location, you have a victualling license. You do not have an extended hours license
No.
and a tobacco license there as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if the committee has any questions of either of the Salim brothers.
Anyone on the committee like to ask any questions? Councilwoman Vargas?
Thank you. Good evening. My question is, I know you said that the person who is selling, your employee, who is selling to underage, is no longer on staff?
No, she fired.
And is she, and I'm not sure if this is information that we have or not, is that the same person who sold to all
No,
of the underage?
no. Before is a different person. We fired her. Is a different person. That when we received the ticket, we fired her. Then we hired the new person in the night shift. And
So as far as your employee, you've gone through 2 employees already who you've let go because they were selling to underage?
yes, they didn't hide the IDs.
And when you were selling to underage, and when did you let go of the other person? How long ago was
Same
that?
day as soon I received the ticket from the department.
So you let go both staff that same day after you received, you said 3 in one day, correct?
Yes.
Which honestly to me, being cited, or you said some in three tickets
That's
in one
weird.
day.
That's
It's not
weird.
weird to me, honestly. It is not weird to me. You know why it's not weird? Because you have staff selling to underage children here in our community. And so if they would have gone 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row, shame on your employee for continuing to do it one after the other. So I am not sorry for that. I'm not sorry for saying that. You should know, you should definitely have your staff know better and be trained. You let go of 2 staff that kept doing it every time you had someone go in. And I have no sympathy for that whatsoever, at all. And so you're saying you train your staff. Clearly, you're not training your staff as adequate as possible. I understand you're an owner and you have employees, and sometimes they may be in a rush, as you said. It doesn't matter if they're in a rush. You still get carded. I still get carded when I'm buying something. And I know I don't look 21 or 18, right? And so, but you should be carded.
That's why ma'am said,
And-
we've been telling, we've been telling our employees, please, we don't want any sale, like sell to the minor. As I mentioned that, we don't want that revenue because we have no one to sell to the minors. Like, but I'm not gonna lie, we do get that kind of tickets, like once in a year, like we've been doing business in Mass, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. But the thing is, we get card like sometimes, but never happened like that. So of course, we find out in that cash register, there was a default key, as I mentioned you.
All right, and
Like that key probably just, when we installed that POS system in that gas station, one of the people who does the setting, they didn't it properly. We didn't know that they can just default it like by pressing it instead of pressing.
well, I'll be honest with you, and I apologize for cutting you off, but you are ultimately the owner and you are responsible and accountable on how your operation works and how it doesn't. My other question is, both of those employees, did they only work in one location, or do they work?
No, just
in
in that
different ones?
location.
Okay, so what about if I'm understanding correctly, that wasn't the only location, correct? To our legal counsel, of which was selling to underage?
There were two locations.
There were two.
There's two. Cranston Street, Warwick Avenue.
Okay, and so these two employees only worked at one location that you said. So what about the other location? What happened? What are you doing there? Because clearly you get let go of two staff that work in the same location, but it didn't only happen under one location.
Ma'am, that's why I said that, like, that's why I requested and mentioned, like, we've been telling our employees, please don't do that things. And strictly, like, we install our program, they have that key too, but that's a different passport. But thing is, I don't know how the hell, like, that thing happened, like, why they're selling to the minors. There is no way we mention and we want that revenue, no. Already,
Do you know who sold to the underage at the other
we
location?
fired to both people too, like same
I
time.
thought you just said that both of them only worked at one location.
No, ma'am, whatever we see the tickets, we check the cameras and we find out who was doing that, we fired them. Technically, one was late, so we checked in the back on a payroll and find out who was working at that time. We let them go, actually. I said, we don't want that thing happen. And now after that thing happens, like we have that many tickets, now we just doing a sign thing from each employee. Like clearly we mentioned them, like we don't want any kind of revenue. We don't want to sell to the minors. Like, please don't do that. And we taking our signatures, we can shoot the proof of letters from each employees, whatever we're hiring in future and current now.
Okay, I was just a little confused because you said both of them were in one location, but it's happened in two different locations. And you said two staff, both of them worked under one. But either way, I hope that you take serious action on
No, we
this. And I
definitely-
believe, there's upcoming other hearings that you're having, but at this point, I know it's tough time for businesses, but when it comes down to the laws are the laws, and you shouldn't be selling to anyone that's under the age, whether it's your employee, whether it's yourself. You are accountable for that business and what happens and how that person gets trained, whether people are in a rush or not.
No,
And so
we totally get that. And
I'm not sure you guys really get it when it's happened more than 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I apologize. I'll stop it right there. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vargas. I would just like some clarification on the question that Councilwoman Vargas just asked, because I don't know that it was answered properly. So 2 locations were involved in the sale of tobacco to underage, to children. And only employees in one of those locations were let go. Is that correct?
no, ma'am, both employees are working in different locations. So we're not exchanging employees normally. We just let them work in the same location because that's how it works from our stores. We don't want to move our employees in each. So both employees will get fired when we have a tickets, and whoever sold in each location, we let them go.
Okay, so every employee of yours who sold tobacco to a minor was fired.
Yes.
Okay. And to go back to your training, you said a manager trains the employees on the tobacco sales?
Yes.
Is that correct? And who trains the managers?
His name,
We train the managers.
And who trained you? I'm just asking because I know there is no, it's not like with alcohol where there's a tip certification program. I know that the Family Smoking Prevention Tobacco Control Act doesn't require you to implement training, but the FDA does have, training documents that you can
Yeah,
use.
we
So I don't know
always-
what you're going off of. Do you just
we
say,
always watch the videos, and we do have license in state of Massachusetts. So we know, like, they explain us how you need to card the peoples and how old you think, like, you should card the peoples, like 31 over year old, unless they have gray, but that's our choice. But 30, if somebody looks 31 or over 32, you should card the ID, does not matter like how, you know what I'm saying? That's the procedure, same thing we tell our each employees.
and are your employees clear on the repercussions of not carding? Or are they told if you don't card, people coming in to buy tobacco products, you will be fired or you will have 3 strikes, or is that clear to them?
Yes, that's we even start taking signatures on a letter, like that's why you get fired, because you're gonna sell it to the minor, because we already dealing with them so many tickets. We don't want to take any more thing.
And on a separate note, do you sell vaping products or just cigarettes?
Yeah, we do sell vapes, so
And do you sell flavored vapes?
no,
And you never have?
sorry.
You've never sold
We
flavored
had it
vapes?
before
You did?
when like it was allowed to sell.
Okay. Right. And, I'm just,
And we do still have vapes, which is according to the state and rules and regulations. Like you can still sell vapes, which is nicotine restriction and flavors. But it comes in different tobacco flavors too. But you call flavors, but it's clear, has tobacco like Marlboro Light and all that stuff.
and what I don't really understand is it doesn't benefit your employees not to card someone, because I don't think that they're going to get paid their $12 an
No.
hour,
No.
whether or not they sell a lot of tobacco or not. It's only you that benefits from sales at your establishment. So
Yes.
that's why I have a real problem.
That's what
You
I'm
know.
saying, they are so lazy, they don't want to even, I somehow, it's hard to get the peoples to, a lot of people, we had a lot of problems, we're facing a lot of problems, we had peoples, and we do watch their criminal record, find out like they're taking drugs, alcohol in a bathroom, store was locked. Like it's really hard, like we cannot bring the peoples from here anywhere else. So we have to find our own people.
Especially in this location, no one like to work because we got robbed 5 times in last year.
So, but still,
So-
it's really hardship for that store too. Like we still investing a lot of money in that store. It was neglected very bad. When we bought that store, we started fixing it. But it's really nice location, but it's really hard, like how is gas prices going up, plus cigarette prices going up. But we don't have any attention still to face that kind of tickets.
One time I work in the store behind the counter and the kid came, it looked like 19. I asked him ID. He didn't have an ID. He pissed so much. When he left, he cut my gas pipe.
But there is nothing. to
It's
do,
normal.
but
When we say no, they find a lot of homeless people from the street and they send someone. This location is tough because homeless people always outside. We have a lot of problem over there. A lot of people don't like to work over there because have a bad reputation in the Crescent area.
even we call when city of Cranston, they even don't listen to us for the homeless people.
They say
Even
they can't do anything.
even they are angry on us. They said, you know what, don't call us for those things. And if we have no control, we cannot touch people, cannot do anything. And if we said there, please go, they don't. They ask money, everybody. They just do crack things, everything.
One time I parked my car, one homeless face scratched all my new car. I called the police, they say we can't do anything.
But still, it's like we came here to apologize, and mentioned, we have no attention, like to get the revenue to sell minors. That's not how we are. But of course, we took some actions, writing, like taking a signature from the employees, clearly mention you're gonna get fired, and probably we're gonna hold your last paycheck if you're gonna start doing that thing, you know.
Would you, is it, I imagine, then this is just my assumption, so please correct me if I'm wrong, that if people are scared to work there, then maybe it's the middle of the night that you would have trouble hiring
Daytime
someone?
too, Daytime too.
We got robbed in the evening times too. Like,
Because maybe we
we
could
got
perhaps
robbed.
not be 24 hours.
Then it's break-in. We have 3-4 break-ins. Like people break the glass and left.
Councilman Ferry?
Just a point of information. I know the matter of importance of this, but there are people here that of here to get their licenses that have been here almost an hour now. I think we need to either put them at the end or somehow bring this to a conclusion, just to be mindful of the people that are here waiting, just to make a point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry. Does anyone else have any questions? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. Question. Do you ever feel that those employees who were lazy or let go were threatened for selling underage? Were they scared for outcome if they don't sell those tobaccos? Do you have these questions?
Totally, I don't get your question. Can you repeat it again, please?
Do you have the impression that those employees
Which were selling the.
that were selling underage
Okay.
were in somewhat scared of the outcome of not selling? Do you feel that it's maybe a possibility?
No, but one of them from, I'm not gonna lie, he owns stores too. One of the guy who owns gas station too before, so he was really experienced. That's what you're asking,
No, no,
right?
she's saying maybe employees say no, he's scared from the people.
That's
Right?
what you asked?
Mhm. Do you think it was one of
Sometimes
possibilities?
they happen, like when we hired the girls, people show her a lot of attitude. She's scared, but she's okay now. She asks everybody ID if have it or not. We just say, sorry, we can't serve you. We put more cameras in the system. We put more security as much we can. And now we are very strict. We are both watch the recording now, every minute, every half hour, what we did before. The last girl, she have to ask ID. The new one doesn't matter, look like 70 years old. She have to ask ID.
Okay, my next question. You said you were robbed 5 times. Is that correct?
Yes. Last 2 years, like we have 3 break-ins and 2 robberies.
Do you have an estimate of the value of what you lost?
The first time we lost almost $40,000.
40?
40, because we got big delivery for cigarette, but we were not they open. They break the door, break the lock, and take all the cigarettes. Each carton is $115.
Do you have any report from the police?
Yeah, they have it. They have in the system everything.
Thank you.
And now the problem is, after so many happens, no insurance company give us insurance anymore. I'm paying $1,900 per month insurance.
Madam Chair, we're getting a little off topic here. I wanted, to Councilman Ferry's point, we need to really focus on the issue. I don't have any other questions of these gentlemen.
Are we done with questions? Councilman Barr?
Just a quick question. So as a show cause, the fact that they're here before us, is it up to the committee to decide ultimately? I mean, can we take their state issue license in terms of selling cigarettes? That's the state. That's what's going to court, correct? Okay, please.
If no other committee member has any questions, then I will get right to the point. You gentlemen can have a seat.
All right, thank you.
So the members of the committee, the position of the city is that I think what you've heard is there has been no denial that these sales were in fact made. Obviously, the city has easily satisfied its burden here. Sergeant Sweeney testified in detail as to what took place on the various dates. The only question now is what is the sanction, if any, that the committee wants to impose? Now, with regard to Quality Fuel, they hold 3 licenses: tobacco, victualling, and extended hours. With regard to Speedy Mart, they hold a victualling and tobacco. My thought was this, and obviously this is up to the committee, but this is the first time I believe that these gentlemen have appeared before the committee to answer for these charges. And I'm hoping that they have an appreciation as to how serious this matter is. Nonetheless, it is an egregious and a very serious matter when you're selling, whether it's alcohol or tobacco, to minors. That is a very serious situation, and it cannot continue. Now, they claim that they have installed some type of apparatus, or they revived some type of apparatus, which will prevent this type of activity from happening. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition or not. That's going to be up to them. My thought was to do this. My thought was to issue a suspension of 1 or all of the licenses, I would say for 10 days. But I would then take a page from my district and Superior Court experience and ask that the committee basically hold that penalty in abeyance for a period of time, perhaps 30 or 45 days or 60 days, whatever the committee feels is appropriate. I would then ask Sergeant Sweeney to keep tabs on both locations. And if during that time, any new evidence comes to light that either of these locations have in fact committed the same type of violation, or for that matter, just about any violation, then I will immediately issue another summons these gentlemen in. And at that point in time, the only thing that will be decided is whether or not they have in fact violated. Again, if they have, the 10-day suspension immediately goes into effect. That's the end of it. But this gives them, I think, some impetus to comply. We're after compliance. We're not in the business of putting people out of business. That's not what we do. However, we do want compliance. So it's going to be up to these gentlemen. If they comply, if they follow the law, they will be fine. If they do not, there will be no further hearing such as this. There will be a 5-minute hearing, and the only issue will be whether or not they committed a new violation. And if so, then that 10-day penalty that has been suspended or held in abeyance will immediately take effect. So that is my submission, my suggestion. Obviously, it's up to this committee what you would like to do with their licenses.
I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Solicitor. I would move at this time that this committee issue a suspension of the license for a period of 10 days. However, hold that in abeyance for a period of how long would you suggest?
It would be up to the committee. I suggest a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 60 days. And that will give the Cranston Police Department some time to ensure compliance. I think shorter than 30 days, isn't too much of a incentive for them to comply, because in the beginning, as you know, everybody complies. But if we get out toward 45 to 60 days, we're going to see if they can keep it up, if they can keep, the appropriate safeguards in place. So I think I'd be leaning a little more towards 60 days, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. And strike my previous motion. I'd like to make a motion that, and I think 10 days is too less of a penalty. I would move that they have a suspension of 20 days and that it be held in abeyance for a period of 90 days so that the Cranston Police can continue to ensure their compliance.
I'll second that.
Councilman Riley, is that as to all 3 licenses?
Yes, I'm sorry, on all 3 licenses.
Just to be clear for the record, all 3 licenses with regard to Quality Fuel, which is the Cranston Street location, and 2 licenses with regard to the Speedy Mart on Warwick Avenue. One has 3, one has 2.
Yes, so a motion to suspend all 5 licenses, 3 for one establishment, 2 for the other, for a period of 20 days, to be held in abeyance for a period of 90 days, and at that time will be vacated if the establishment is compliant.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
I'm sorry, was there a motion? A second? Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Council Vice President Perry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are way behind, so we're going to try and pick up the pace, okay? Under committee business matters carried over, we have a Class BV liquor license for Cafe Day Restaurant and Bar. This is a 90-day follow-up continued from February 7th. Is there someone from Cafe Day Restaurant present? Is there anyone from Cafe Day Restaurant on Zoom?
I see no public comment. If the chair could remind folks to raise their hand if they want to speak.
Is there anyone on Zoom from Cafe Day Restaurant, perhaps Carlos Santos? Please raise your hand. Was there any contact either through the solicitor or through the clerk from Cafe Day?
We haven't heard from them, no.
Okay, guess we can continue this one more time. I don't believe that they've actually even opened. So
I'll make a motion to continue this with notice to the applicant.
Second.
any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a victualling license. This is for Green Life Nutrition. This is continued from May 2nd. Is there anyone present from Green Life Nutrition? Yes, are you? Okay. And is there anyone who'd like to make public comment either on Zoom or in the audience before we have the applicant come forward?
See no public comment on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we're open for discussion. If you could come up. You'll just give us your name and your address for the record. 30 seconds, tell us what you're trying to do, and then we'll ask questions.
I'm not speaking English. Just I can speak English just a little bit.
Okay, may I have your name?
That's Rosendo Pablo Larios. There's ROSANDOPOBLOLIOS.
Muy buenas tardes.
Sí, muy buenas tardes.
I'm just tell them about the translation component. Buenas tardes. Nosotros somos el consejo de aquí de la ciudad de Cranston. Yo sé que usted está aquí al frente de nosotros, pero desafortunadamente yo no puedo servir como un intérprete porque estoy aquí y la señora que está aquí no puede escribir. ¿Se puede traer a alguien que hable inglés? No hay nadie.
Es por ahora,
Ama-
no, porque
Can you translate? ¿Usted está bien que él se sirva
Sí.
como su intérprete?
sí.
We,
Okay, is there any objection if he can translate for him? He just asked.
no, we can, that's fine. I was just going to just caution the committee. We can't have a committee member act as
That is
translator.
exactly what I was
So
telling
you told
him.
them that? Great.
That's why he just
Excellent.
volunteered to translate
If
for him.
that's fine. Have the gentleman come up. Let's swear him in that he will interpret truthfully and correctly.
And you two will attest as that's exactly what I said for the script, just so you know.
Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes,
Would you
Attorney.
just remind those on Zoom that we're running behind for those who are here for the upcoming 7 o'clock finance meeting? They can.
Yes,
just hang
thank
loose.
you. I just want to inform the members who might be signing on Zoom, any members of the public, we are still in a safety services meeting. We are running very much over due to a show cause. So if you're looking for the finance meeting, it has not started yet, so hang tight.
Yes. Minor Santos, MYNOR, Santos.
If you could just ask for a quick explanation of this business application, what his business will do.
Ellos quieren saber qué es lo que va a ser tu negocio.
Es una club de nutrición.
Es solo una cosa de nutrición.
Sí, es una club de nutrición como de Herbalife. No sé si conocen.
So it'll be sort of like a Herbalife business.
Okay, thank you. I'm very familiar with that. I don't know if anyone else is, but to expedite, does anyone have any questions?
Let's just ask for time.
Yes, for the hours.
¿Qué horarios?
Por ahora las 7 para las 7.
From 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. If there's any questions, no further questions for the committee, I will just ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All set? Gracias. Next, we have a public hearing on the Class BV liquor license. This is over the cap, so it needs our, oh wait, this is withdrawn. So never mind, we do not need to vote on this. New matters before the committee, we have several that are ratifications. So I'd like to entertain a motion to vote on those as a block.
Motion to hold to this as a block.
Just a point of order, you don't have a quorum, I don't believe yet, so.
I couldn't hear, I'm sorry.
We don't have a people.
We don't have a quorum.
Councilwoman Vargas is back. Thank you. As I was saying, that we have 5 licenses that are ratifications, so I would like to entertain a motion to take those as a block so we can move on.
Motion to approve the block.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll on voting on these as a block.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Thank you. And now I would like to vote on those licenses, the block of licenses. Motion,
Motion to approve the block.
Move.
Second.
any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have mobile food establishment. This is Baja's Fresh Grill LLC. Is there anyone here representing them? I thank you. You can come forward. Is there anyone in the public on Zoom or present in chambers who would like to speak on this license?
I see no public comment.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, for discussion, can you please just give us your name and address for the record and then a quick summary?
I'm sorry?
Just your name and your address?
Bahij Boutros. Bahij. Last name is Boutros, B as a boy, Outros. The address is 394 Woodbine Street, Cranston.
Thank you. And can you quickly just describe your business? Just a food, are you coming to do the Mulligan's Island?
We fast food Mexican. We have 10 locations. One of the locations is Cranston. And we opened up like maybe a couple of years ago. So far, city of Cranston and the citizen of Cranston has been great. We've been doing so well. We started the food trailer just because we've been asking a lot of requests for wedding and for small stuff. It was much more safe and much more sanitized to have a trailer instead of put a tent and take tent. We have a full one with sink and past the fire department, past the city of the health department, and we have a name, we have a branding, and I just don't want any issue. So we built up a nice trailer. Just we've been asked to cater a few events, and that's what we did. We also own the building on Dyer Avenue, the old Al Ceravo. We bought the building. We're in the middle of making that as a commissary, as production for our operation to make the food safety. In the meantime, we're going to use the Cranston location to do the prep till the commissary is 100% been moved from C3 to M1, something like that. My lawyer's working on it.
Excellent. All right, great. Thank you. I think that's wonderful. Does anyone have any questions from the committee? There being none, clerk, please take the roll. Yes.
Jermaine?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. You're all set. Thank you. Good
Just
luck.
1 minute, just off the record for nothing. You guys did a great job. I've been in Cranston since 1982. I live here. My daughter go to Child University. So the first curse word I heard, my daughter is 6 years old, and make me wonder 10 years from now what will happen. And you did a good job, and it's sad to hear that. That's all.
Thank you. Next, we have a mobile food establishment for 616 Lemon LLC, DBA Cosmos Fresh and Frozen Treats. Is there anyone present? Please come forward. Is there anyone on Zoom or in the audience who would like to speak for or against this license?
No public comment.
Okay, seeing no public comment, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Open for discussion. Can you please give us your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Michael McAteer, 34 Midland Drive, Cranston, Rhode Island.
And quickly, could you tell us about 616 Lemon?
Yeah, I'm one of the organizers of Mulligan's. I have the hot potato, health chicken, and this is a new truck that we have coming out. It's Cosmos frozen treats and fresh fruit bowls and all Dole Whip. It's like based like on a Hawaiian theme.
Right, fantastic. Any questions from the committee? All right, there being none, wish you lots of luck.
Thank you.
And can you please take the roll, clerk?
Councilwoman Rizuli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, so Lemmy Geta. Is there anyone here for a mobile food establishment, Lemmy Geta? Nicholas Dowling, perhaps? Not here? Okay. I would ask that this be continued with
Motion to
notice.
continue.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Rizuli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilman Vargas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have Oki's Old Fashioned Ice Cream. Is there anyone present for that company? You could come forward, please. Is there anyone in the audience for public comment or on Zoom?
See no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, open for discussion. Can you please give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name's Veronica Manders and my address is 2132 Cranston Street, Cranston, Rhode Island.
Thank you, Veronica. Could you tell us quickly about your application?
Well, it's cotton candy, candy apples, mostly festival stuff. I have just recently done work for the Cranston Police Department. So I want to make sure I have all my paperwork in order because I would like to continue doing more work in Cranston.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilwoman Rizuli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Cranston.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rise and Grind LLC. Is there anyone present? Perhaps Rebecca Hammond? Yes, okay. Is there anyone in the audience, whether in the public here or on Zoom, who would like to speak?
See no public comment.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, open for discussion. Could you please give us your name and address for the record?
Rebecca Hammond, 219 Smith Street in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about your application?
So we are a mobile coffee truck. We offer coffee beverages, no food. Pretty much it.
All right, excellent. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, clerk, can you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Let us know if you ever want us to come by.
Yeah. Okay, next I have a public entertainment license. This is for Patuxent Athletic Club, Adam Julie, June 11th, 2022, 12 to 5. This is a one-day entertainment for the Gatsby Day. Is Adam Julie present? Hi, can you please come up? Is there anyone here from the public, whether in chambers or online, who would like to speak for or against this application?
I see no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion
Motion to approve?
for discussion. Can you please give us your name and address for the record?
My name's Adam Dooley. I'm at 75 Parkway Ave, Cranston, Rhode Island, 02905.
Excellent, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing at Gatsby with this license?
I recently took over managing the club in January, and we wanted to do something different to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Gatsby. So we're putting a band in the parking lot, in our parking lot, just from 12 to 4.
Okay, excellent. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, there being none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
You're all
thank
set,
you.
thank you. Next, we have septic hauler license. First new license is P Palace Portable Potties. Is anyone here representing that company? You could come forward. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak either in chambers or on Zoom?
There's no public comment.
Okay, there being no public comment, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Open for discussion. Please tell us your name and address for the record.
My name is Rich Hayes from Sagamore Beach, Massachusetts. Rich Hayes, yeah. It's 35 Old Plymouth Road, Sagamore Beach, Massachusetts.
And could you just tell us a little bit about your application?
Application is we have a portable party business, and we're just looking for a place to dump in Rhode Island when we're doing our Rhode Island customers.
Okay, excellent. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I'm gonna stay quiet on what I was gonna say. It's a dumping ground. Obviously, I'm so assuming you have a place to go, you're gonna go dump, right? Is that what it is?
Yes,
I just-
the
oh.
sewer.
Just making sure
Yeah.
on that. All right. That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas? Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
right.
Next, we have for another septic hauler license, Rudiment LLC. Is an Edward Freeman present? Could you come forward? Is there anyone present in the audience on Zoom or in chambers who'd like to speak about this application?
No public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Open for discussion. Hi, if you could give us your name and address for the record.
Sure. Edward Freeman's actually the owner. I'm the general manager. My name's Christopher Penault. It's 2211 Hartford Ave, Johnston, Rhode Island. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick explanation of what you're doing.
We bought a septic truck. We're a plumbing and septic business. We bought a septic truck. We're looking for a place to dump.
Thank you.
At Viola, in Cranston.
All right, does anyone have any questions? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli?
Yes.
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Next, we have a victualling license. This is for Andreoni Family Bakery. Is John Andreoni present? Hi, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience, either on Zoom or in chambers, for the public who would like to speak on this application?
See no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, for discussion, if you could give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, John Andrioni, 1064 Great Road in Lincoln, Rhode Island. Sure.
Okay, would you like to tell us quickly about your business?
Yes, right now it's just operating a wholesale bakery business, sells bread, rolls, pizza, pies. We'd just like to open up to the, just have permission to open up and sell to the public.
Okay, great. What are your hours of operation?
Initially, probably 8 to 12, like to be able to maybe expand that 7 to 1, either seasonally or if, you know, business warrants it.
Okay, fantastic. Are there any questions from the committee? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes?
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas? Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Next, we have a victualling license for Bistro Cafe. Is there anyone here representing Bistro Cafe? Thank you. Is there anyone from the public, online, or in person who'd like to speak about this application?
No public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
No proof?
Second.
Open for discussion. If you could give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, Minor Santos, address is 23 McLean Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Minor, MYNOR. Yes, no problem.
Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about Bistro Cafe?
Yes, we're looking to open a new restaurant, which would be serving American breakfast and Italian dinner. And we're looking to open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Is that 7 days a week?
So Wednesday through Monday, close on Tuesdays.
And are there any questions from the committee? No? Okay, I just want to comment, I do see a victualling license, but no beverage license, so there's no liquor.
No liquor,
Correct? Okay, thank you very much. If there's no further questions from the committee, I would ask for a vote. Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes?
Councilman Riley? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, I have Summer Food LLC. Is there anyone present? Hi, thank you. You can come forward. Is there anyone from the public, online, or in person who'd like to comment on this application?
See no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
No proof?
Second.
Open for discussion. If you could give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Tuna Erdem. Tuna Erdem, TUNAERDEM. You're welcome. 1370 Smith Street, North Providence.
Fantastic. Could you tell us a little bit about your application?
Yes, the restaurant that we took over is reputational with the calzones and the pizza, and we will keep the same structure and we will keep the existing menu. So everything will say they're doing great.
Okay, is this Tomaselli's?
Yes, Thomas.
Yes, okay. So excellent. And what will your hours of operation be?
It will be 11 to 9.
11 to 9.
Yeah, 11 to 9, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Is that going to be open 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes?
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good
Thank you.
luck. Okay, I see no business from the traffic engineer. We already took the show cause out of order. I see no business from the police department, no business from the fire department. We have several license renewals. I'd like to entertain a motion to take those as a block.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, and there being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes?
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay,
Motion to approve the block?
Second. Second.
any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Renzulli?
Yes?
Councilman Riley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferry?
Yes.
Okay. Monthly schedules. Roads on the Patuxent has a monthly schedule to accept the events. I will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley, Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Council Vice President Ferry.
Yes.
Okay, there's no monthly schedule for the Cranston Stadium, so we're just going to miscellaneous and we'll be done. Let's see, there was a temporary outdoor expansion of premises for Alani's Bistro, Fellini Pizzeria, the Parlor Creamery, and the Historic Park Theater LLC. There are no presentations, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to take a recess before your meeting?
Finance meeting will start in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please take a roll?
Council Vice President Ferry,
Present.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Marino,
Present.
Councilman Donegan, Councilman Campiano.
I'd like to have a motion for the approval of the prior meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marino.
Yes.
I'd like to make a note that Councilman Donegan sent me an email apologizing for not being in attendance tonight due to a previously scheduled professional obligation. First on the agenda, a committee business matters carried over. These two items are at the discretion of the council president, who is not here at the time. And I'd like to ask the clerk to please put these two items on the special finance committee meeting on June 16th. They are the additional funding for the Rhode Island Tree Council and also funding for one cross alert system for the bike path on Dyer Avenue. Thank you. We have no correspondence or communications. Next, I'd like to ask if there's anyone on Zoom or in council chambers that would like to speak on any matter on the docket tonight.
Karen Rosenberg.
Karen Rosenberg?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours. Please limit your testimony to 4 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I thank you for allowing me to speak. I've been a Cranston homeowner for about 25 years. Admittedly, I have never before followed the budget process at all, but I'm retired now, so I'm paying attention. And I was really kind of floored by the process that we just went through. And I have a lot of questions. I don't understand how there could be such a large increase in the budget that the city needed to take 20 million or almost 20 million of our ARPA money to close the budget hole, and why we're being left even with that with a $12 million structural deficit. And it seems to me that the process is very dysfunctional and that the council has very little visibility into the financial situation of the city. And then they get a budget handed to them with these huge problems in it. And there's very little time or ability to really sort of look into it before in the time that's allowed. I have questions about what the city what's causing the operating deficit and what would have happened if the ARPA money wasn't available to deal with it this year. And I also would like to know what's going to be done to address the structural causes so that we don't end up using up the rest of the ARPA money and then, getting a bunch of tax increases on top of the one this coming year in order to close that deficit. On a related note, I was stunned to learn more about the 7 million or nearly 7 million that of accumulated debt, I guess, in the city's health insurance fund, which is being paid off again with ARPA money. And I watched the finance committee meeting on the 23rd, and the administration indicated that they were increasing the premiums into the fund, but it seemed like their attitude was that there was unforeseen circumstances that led to the problem, and that now that the whole 7 million is being wiped clean, that there's really nothing more that needs to be done. It really doesn't make sense to me, and it seems like it's completely foreseeable that this would happen and that it will happen at some time in the future, which is why, in my experience, dealing with a lot of small and medium-sized nonprofits as a union negotiator, that if they're self-insured, they have stop-loss insurance. And I don't really understand why that hasn't been acquired in this case. But the health fund is just one issue. It's clearly not the only issue. I'm very appreciative that the council has on the docket a number of relevant issues tonight. And I hope that, we can get to the bottom of why the situation got to this point and put measures in place that will ensure it doesn't happen again. And in particular, in addition to sort of dealing with whatever the structural reasons are, I'd like to see some, effort to really look at this whole process and make changes so that there's a reasonable opportunity for the council to provide real oversight so that these issues don't just sort of, blindside you when you're on a deadline to approve a budget and it's really too late to deal with them. So I thank you for putting these issues on the agenda and putting, casting a light on them and starting to explore how we can put our city on a better path.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anyone else on Zoom? We have someone in council chambers. Please step forward. Is the green light on?
Yes.
Then please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. My name is Alice Patrone, 24 Bretton Woods Drive, Cranston, Rhode Island. I'm here to speak on a couple of issues. I'll save my very passionate one for last.
One reminder, please limit your testimony to 4 minutes.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will make sure it's only 4 minutes. I guess my understanding of what went on with the last council meeting and the meeting of this committee, where it lasted until 1:15 in the morning, and then it seemed that nothing was passed, and then by not passing all the objections that were there, somehow this budget got approved. I guess I was told that this has to do with something in the charter. It's a technicality in the charter. And I'm wondering what council might propose that we can do to fix this. That's my major question. The other reason why I came, and I want to first applaud Anise and Jessica and also Nicole about the Cranston pool issue and what's going on here, and these outrageous estimates to make what can only be considered a complex for I don't know whose benefit. But I think I speak for a lot of Cranston City residents who use the pool and like the pool, that I want the answer for how it went from $125,000 to open it last year, because I think that was the number, to now somewhere between 2 to 4 million, depending on how we're going to do this. We need to fix the pool. We don't need to recreate the pool. We need to fix the pool. It serves a lot of people in this city. It's certainly a wonderful place for children and families and everyone to go. The building itself is historical. The way that building is built, you're not going to build a finer building than that. But what we're talking about fixing here are mechanicals. We shouldn't be tearing a structure down rather than fixing the mechanicals. And I do understand that sometimes that's more expensive than tearing something down and fixing what's there. However, I would certainly, I have some knowledge. I know Anise has gotten some grant applications. I have a background in grant writing. I was a federal grant director for Rhode Island College. And I also wrote successful grants for the Department of Secondary Ed. Happy to give of my time to help getting funds to get the pool open. And so that it won't have to come out of the taxpayer's pocket, which seems to be what the administration thinks is okay. My last question for my 4 minutes is why are we using COVID funds that are supposed to be used for COVID-related issues, which would be the pool, amongst other things, to take care of deficits? And are we not, by doing this, violating federal guidelines? That's a strong question. And it's a strong legal question that everyone in this room needs to take seriously. And I will end my testimony.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to have any public testimony this evening? Anyone else on Zoom that would like to give public testimony this evening?
I see no public comment.
At this time, I would like to close public hearings. Next on the agenda from Councilwoman Vargas is Johnson and Wales University aid. Councilwoman Vargas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question, given the fact that we don't have the finance director. I'm hoping that Director Igo would be able to provide this, or the administration. I believe we have some sort of a contract base with the Johnson and Wales, right, in terms of having aid. And so in fiscal year 16, there was about 150,000. And since then, we've had about 220 up until the FY 23 as well. That's in there as well. How long is that aid that we have, our contract, if you will, and where are we as far as reassessing if that should be the same number? Is that an agreement? Is it going to go higher? Is it going to go lower, given the fact that it was at 150 back in 16?
Yes, Councilwoman, it has grown over the years. There is an agreement in place. Fiscal year 22, which we just received, was the final year. The assessor has set up meetings to meet with Johnson and Wales. It's a formula based on the size of the campus, the number of facilities on the campus. So we had just received on June 1st, this year's payment of $224,244, excuse me.
So we're no longer receiving any aid next year, since you said it's a 10-year and 10-year was up this year?
It was a 3-year. It's extended every 3 years. So they're meeting, they're scheduled, Johnson and Wales had called the assessor to set up a meeting so they can discuss what the plan will be for the next 3 years.
Is there a meeting coming up then soon?
They I don't know if they've actually scheduled the meeting, but Johnson and Wales has been in touch with the assessor to schedule the meeting.
Okay. Would you be able to just email me that information as in terms of what that evaluation is? I mean, give it, so the.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, I mean, they're obviously growing it, but it also depends, I would say, on any additional buildings, correct? That's within the Cranston
On their
area.
campus, yes.
Okay. If you can fill me in on that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like evaluations and everything else and appraisal and everything else keeps going up, but I don't know if it's a contracted mutual agreement that it was just that dollar amount, but the next 3 years, 10 years or so forth.
Yes.
I'd like to know that as
Sure.
well. If the dollar amount changes, obviously that would then be reflected of the FY 23, correct?
Well, we put in the same amount, I believe, for FY 23, and it wouldn't go any less than that. It would only go higher.
Okay. All right. That was, I believe, the only item that I had on for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, real estate tax abatements. Do I have the amended list from April? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman,
Yes.
Next on the agenda is our real estate tax abatements June list. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Vice President Ferry,
Yes?
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marino.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, motor vehicle tax abatements. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes?
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marino.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, tax interest waiver approvals. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take a roll.
Council Vice President Ferry,
Yes?
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marino.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, we have 3 items placed on the agenda by Councilwoman Marino. First is the Internal Service Fund. Councilwoman Marino, the floor is yours.
Thank you. With respect to the Internal Service Fund, this evening, I'd like to hear from the administration with respect to plans and options of insurance, such as with a third-party collaborative organization, and additional options of potentially increasing the percentage of employee contribution, which I believe is currently set at 20% from past conversations.
As to working with a third-party collaborative, we do that currently with a company called Rimic for the admin fees for our insurance claims. In terms of the nice lady asked a question about stop loss, and we have that insured with the United and Blue Cross. We are looking into options or alternatives, perhaps is the best way of saying it, to look at other collaboratives that may give us a better deal or not, but that has been in process, and so that process will continue. As to options of increasing percentages of employee contributions, that's part of the bargaining unit negotiations. And so certainly we will be having those talks with all our bargaining units.
I'm glad to hear that that'll be on the table with respect to contract negotiations going forward with respect to the contribution rate. And while I'm also glad to hear about the implementation of trying to explore other potential cost savings with collaborative organizations, I'm looking for maybe a timetable on this as to when the administration thinks that, specifically with respect to the collaborative organization, when do you think that you will have some kind of answer along those lines? Would it be 3 months from now, 2 months from now?
It's hard to pinpoint it because I don't know the last time it was done. We're taking a fresh look at it. In terms of having meetings with them, I don't know how long it's going to take to get that understanding. And obviously we want to then talk to various collaboratives if possible, at least a couple, to go with this. So they'll be back and forth. I would be foolish to commit to a time frame, but I would say months, not weeks and not years. So I would, sometime I would think months, how long that process, because it's more than just flipping a switch to say your house you have valued at X amount of dollars and you want so much liability insurance. This is something where there has to be a sharing of claims data, and it takes time. And I don't know how long it takes the collaboratives, pardon me, to work with the insurance companies to go through that process. So it's a process a bit beyond my the administration's control, but certainly we are moving forward and won't be wasting any time.
Is there a specific point person within the administration that has been tasked with that role?
Mr. Igo and myself.
And have there been any specific outreach with any specific organizations?
There is, that outreach will be tomorrow or the next day. There's been internal meetings, talking with we've had discussions, meetings with us, colleagues at the school department to pick their brains. And so, we've done that. So we're doing our internal work to, so we can see what their experiences are, so we could be more knowledgeable in a better position to speak with the groups.
Have there been any recent discussions with the State Auditor General's office as well?
No.
Is that something that is anticipated that might occur?
They're not in the business of insurance.
But they have communicated with the administration previously earlier this year with respect to the need to address the specific deficit, and had made suggestions with respect to using collaboratives, and gave the school as an example for what was done years back, and I believe
I was
2015.
not part of that discussion nor informed. I can ask Mr. Igo if he's been part of those meetings or informed.
I was part of a meeting with the Auditor General when he wanted to address our deficit in the Internal Service Fund. There was no other discussions about joining collaborative or any other such organization at that time. It was just more of how we're going to address the cumulative deficit, and when we thought that we'd be able to eliminate it.
And maybe this is more directed to our Director Moretti. Have there been discussions with the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns as well? Comparisons there?
No, not to date. There's 3 collaboratives. And so we're looking at the existing one that we have, and also one of the largest, the one the school department's with at this time. But the third party, it's possibly there, but you might be aware we don't have a finance director, and we've been tasked with a lot. So there's kind of so much time in a day, and I think we're making terrific strides, not wasting any time looking into this. So we're balancing what's going on fiscally in the city and putting attention to things, but we could work that into the process. But we just can't do everything all at once.
My colleagues have questions. That's fine. I'm all
Does
set.
anyone else have any questions? Councilwoman Manzulli?
Thank you, Vice President Perry. Mr. Moretti, we are currently contracting with a consultant to advise us on our health insurance, correct? Mr. Igo did mention it last time. I just
There's
want
a
to make sure. I'm clear.
medical advisor, healthcare advisor.
Okay. So has anyone thought of perhaps using that consultant to develop a request for proposal support from the collaboratives? It's something that's been done that was done in Warwick a couple of years ago. So they developed the request for what we need. The collaboratives came back with bids, and then they chose from there. Would that perhaps be easier?
They're starting brand new. So we could do that, but we're gonna have to wait according to their time frame, because they have to get up to speed with the city of Cranston now. So if we wanted to wait a couple of months, 2 or 3 months or so, by the time they get up to speed, we have that option, but we'd rather pursue directly and faster, and have the administration delve into it now rather than delay.
Okay, and what was the name of what we're in right now?
The collaborative,
Yeah.
it's the RIMIC, R-I-M-I-C-K. It's an acronym, Rhode Island. I'd be
The
lying to you.
interlocal trust?
It's a collaborative trust.
Is it the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust? Is that the name of it, you think?
It's the sorry, it's RIMIC. If we Google it, we'll get an answer.
RIM what?
I see.
Okay. And Councilwoman Marino mentioned increasing the percentage from employees, and that having to, and you said you'd have to go to the bargaining table. How about, why can't I just think of it? What you have to put down. Now, why can't I think of what it is? Deductible. Do city employees have deductibles for their health insurance?
deductibles, meaning if
You
you
know,
were getting a
3,000 for a
prescription and
family,
then,
no, like 3,000 for a family, 1,500 for a single before the city kicks in.
there's, Michael, I believe not. Yeah, no.
Could that be another possibility that
If
could be
the-
brought to the table?
Sure, if the employees wish to do that, sure it can be.
Is there any wellness, do we have any wellness policy within
I'm
ours?
not prepared for all the detailed
Okay.
healthcare questions this evening. Is there a healthcare program?
A wellness program within our,
Like to go to the gym kind of thing?
it's just.
If I
it's a
had the
program
detail
within-
of what the healthcare plans, I could have been prepared, but I don't have the answer.
Okay, all right, thank you. Can I follow up another time?
Sure.
Thank you.
Director Moretti, who's the advisor we're using now for healthcare?
Gallagher. Yep. Gallagher, I think it's LLC or it's Gallagher.
Any other comments or questions? Councilwoman Jermaine?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mawidi. You mentioned you wasn't part of the conversation when the general auditor gave the recommendations. So would it be possible to give like approximate date when that conversation occurred?
The Auditor General?
Yes.
We're finding out, frankly, the administration, let me say third floor, were aware of the problem of of those conversations on the Wednesday prior to the mayor's budget submission, so March 30th. But what discussions, the timing of that previously, Mr. Strom had informed us he was in discussions with the Auditor General's office. He didn't detail the timing, but I felt that it was at least months.
So when exactly the Auditor General figured out or discovered we have a deficit that we need to address? When?
Well, it was reported in the audit report, the financial statements, which the auditors sign off 3 years ago, that the first of it was noted in the financial statements that a deficit had begun. And over the last 3 years, that deficit has grown. As to when it got to the Auditor General's attention, perhaps Mr. Igo might be able to fine tune that date. But that was building. And it was certainly, it was in that report.
Would it be possible we can have this information, please?
Mr. Igo, would you know the approximate timing of that?
Councilwoman, I believe the Auditor General contacted the Finance Director back in January. Our report is due to the Auditor General on December 31st. And sometime in the month of January, the beginning of February, he called Finance Director, because it has been in the report for the past 3 years, as Mr. Moretti said. But it's grown over the past 3 years. If you remember the last council meeting, I went over the balances and how it's grown over the years with the council. And so now it's it was getting large enough that it drew his attention and he made the phone call.
I have another question. I remember when we had the last report and there was information, we have a surplus. So I'm not an expert in finance. How does that add up? We have a surplus and we have a deficit at the same time. I don't understand.
It's like if you had two different businesses, one business, the operation of the city, taking care of this city, and then one bank account taking care of the health claims of the employees of the city. The account that takes care of the business of the city, the operations of the city, that has a surplus. The bank account that operates on taking care of the health claims of the employees of the city is the one with the deficit.
Thank you so much. So my question, as we start to have this deficit, was there any way we could prevent the increase of the deficit?
The only way would have been to increase the claims, the amount that the operating fund of the city contributes to the healthcare fund of the employees. That's the only source of money that the healthcare fund, that account that takes care of the employees' health, is basically just the amount that comes from the general fund, which is 80% from the city and another 20% from the employees. Now, they're not all 80, 20. The administration pays 25%. So the city only pays 75% of their claims. And then police and fire have different rates too. Each contract delineates how much each employee has to pay. But on average, it's the 80-20 split.
Is that fair to say that we wasn't doing good as we thought we were, or the information that we were doing good?
Well, I believe, like I said, I don't know if you were at the last council meeting, but there were extenuating circumstances. We had this major fire that started the downfall, and then we came into COVID, which was also a once in a lifetime type thing. Those are the types of events that led to the deficit grow bigger and bigger each year.
But we didn't have this information. This information wasn't brought up to us, so we
Well, I
thought
mean, it was in the audit each year. You know, the report that I gave out at the last meeting showed each year that it was in the report and how it grew from year to year to year.
But we didn't really.
It wasn't large
care or
enough,
pay
exactly.
attention.
It wasn't large enough to focus on, you know.
It wasn't enough. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. How enough it's let's start to pay attention. How big it has to be? Enough. What do you mean when it's not enough?
Well, I think when it got to the 5 million level, that's when the Auditor General called us on it.
5 million? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Marino,
I'm all set on this topic. I don't know.
anyone else? I'd like to move on to Councilwoman Marino's second topic, which is the Budlong Pool. Councilwoman Marino, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This evening, my agenda item with respect to the Budlong Pool is asking questions with respect to the firm that conducted the feasibility study report, this Federal Hill Group LLC Architects. I'm wondering how they were specifically chosen. As I've mentioned previously, could not find anything within our Board of Contracts and Purchasing with respect to this going out to bid or for a bid waiver. In addition, the report itself is unsigned, so I don't even know who prepared this report specifically. And with respect to that specific company, even if you look online for their website and even the documentation that was provided, it doesn't mention who the members are, what their qualifications are, who the owners are of this company. That combined with the fact that it was not put out to bid or given a bid waiver really demands answers to these questions. In addition, as you see on the agenda item, I'd like to know the specific cost. We heard that it was going to be 13,000. Is it, or was it definitively 13,000? And if so, specifically, where is this being paid from in the budget? Which department, which line item? And then after that, I'd like to have some discussion as to what the actual plan is in place. What are we actually doing to prioritize opening the pool and the status of the Planning Commission approval for the capital improvement project? I know that we have the grant writer put out for a federal grant for, I believe, over 2 million, might be 2.2 or 2.5 million dollars. With respect to that, which all council members signed off on, and we're hoping that will come through. But other than that, what are the plans? So if the administration through the chair can address these concerns, that would be great.
The Director Tasalia is not feeling well, but I believe he's joined the conversation via Zoom, if perhaps he could be allowed in.
Director Tassaglia?
Am I unmuted now, Councilman Ferry? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
I can.
Pardon me?
Director, and then if we need to fill in, I'll fill in. Director, did you hear the councilwoman's questions? If you could.
Yes, yes. On the first one, that they were taken from the approved list of city contractors. And, you know, that was done, that was done in January with the intent that possibly he would give us a positive report to potentially open this pool. After seeing the report, it didn't look well. And we were planning to try to get it up and going if they gave us inclination that it could be done. One of his plans is to not demolish it, but that would be costly also if that's what is being asked.
I'm going to ask this question again. Perhaps it wasn't conveyed well enough. Who is comprised of the Federal Hill Group LLC architects?
I don't know the exact architects and what their, you know, their group of people are. I can find that out tomorrow if you'd like. I could call the organization and get a list of their architects and their who else was involved in this study.
Who actually did the report?
The report was done by the Federal Hill Group. And I'm not sure the actual person that went in and out. We did let them in a few times. He did his own research, or they had a woman there once that I met. I don't know if he was there when you guys had joined me down at the pool, but that can all be found out. I can get him to document that.
So we are this many months out. And as we sit here today and you put out this report, but as we sit here today, we don't even know, you can't tell us who signed off and prepared that actual feasibility study report.
I mean, the exact person that did it, I could not tell you that. I mean, specifically, it was the Federal Hill Group. Now, who was working on this and investigating this, I'll have to give them a call and find out if that's what you're looking for.
Let me ask you this. How did they get into the facility? Who took them in there? And when I say them, I don't know if it was one person, more than one person from this Federal Hill Group. Who actually did it?
I had let them in a couple of times. There was a woman and a man on 2 different occasions, maybe 3. And that was, you know, right when we started the report. I believe it was out late January, we started it going.
The problem I have is taking stock and credibility in a report that someone couldn't even put their name to. That's a problem for me as well.
Well, it's something I'll have to look into for you to see who signed off on it. And if you'd like to speak with that group, I'm sure they'd be willing to sit down and talk.
Councilwoman Marino, may I speak? Director Tassaglia, with all due respect, the request from Councilwoman Marino, which was on the agenda since we submitted it last week, specifically said who are the owners, members, and who specifically prepared the report. We appreciate the fact that you want to find out this information for us, maybe tomorrow or the next day, but I'm disappointed that the information is not here in front of us at this time. Just need to perfectly make that clear. Thank you. Director Moretti.
If I may add, on the Secretary of State's website, or the person that is the contact person is a Christopher Valleco from Pasco.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and Director, I assume you have spoken with someone and you met someone at that facility. Do you recall the name of the person?
Yeah, it was Chris Valleca, but I'm not sure if he was the person that did the report.
I think
That's what I was asked. I don't want to say he did the report, not knowing if he did or not. It could have been a group, it could have been workers or other people. He was the contact person at the time.
Is it, you've worked fundamentally with the gentleman by the name of Christopher Valleca?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. If I might want to add, just as if I'm not sure if it applies to the professional organizations, but the CPA firms, they'll sign the report by the name of the company. When signing off on the financial statement audits, they don't put the individual names. I'm not sure if that's a reason for but the design architects, that they don't individualize it. But at least we found out the name of the individual that Mr. Tasalia worked with.
I mean, I appreciate the explanation, but it's not reassuring. I also think the lack of specificity within the report is concerning to me, because I don't know the qualifications of the person that did this.
Well, Councilman, you were at the pool and I saw what you saw from the naked eye. When I decided and talked to administration in January, I said, we got to get a professional. We have to get someone to evaluate this so we can realize if it's feasible to open this pool this summer. Based on last year, when we did not open, all that was assessed at that point was the pool itself and some of the components and its structure. It had nothing to do with the building and some of the other violations that were revealed in the report. Leaking of the water. And if you go through it, I don't have to read it, verbatim. But the idea was to get a plan and a blueprint to try to open it. And after looking at the report, I didn't think it was feasible to do a Band-Aid approach, but rather to make it a better product and to modernize it. And with that being said, if the report came back positive, we could have put it in the budget or it could have been amended. That was my plan, and that's what I was thinking. It wasn't like we're trying to do this negatively. We're trying to do this to open the pool.
I appreciate your intent, Director Tassaglia, but I need to make this abundantly clear. The point of addressing this is to get this fixed. We all agree, the administration, council, the public, it's a priority, it needs to be fixed. Frankly, with all due respect, the $13,000 on a report that is unsigned, done without going through the Board of Contract and Purchasing, was a waste of time. It was a waste of money from my perspective. You are right. I walked through the facility. I'm a lay person. I'm not an expert. And even in doing that, I got to tell you, yes, there is need for improvement, but the person who prepared this report is not the person to do the professional assessment with specific details that we need. And that's the problem that I have. So I want to be clear that we need to get this pool opened. We need to have it addressed in the correct way. And I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, which brings me to the next issue of this, of the status of the Planning Commission approval, because we could not even place this on the capital operating budget because that was not done properly. Again, not intentional, I understand that, but we do not have time to repeat, nor do we have the money to repeat the mistakes.
Any other discussion?
The next thing I would ask is to Director Moretti, can you tell me what is the actual plan, the actual next step with respect to getting this pool open? We know it's not going to happen this summer, and that then would include what's the status of obtaining the Planning Commission approval and that process. Thank you.
Director Moretti?
There is not at this time a budget to revamp the pool. The reports come out, agree, disagree by a Mr. Valleco is the owner apparently of the Federal Hill Group. He's a registered architect in Rhode Island and many other states. Apparently he has about 23 years of experience owning this business. But the alarming things that were identified is the safety of that pool, the structure of the pool and the physics of it, that if it were open today, that given the drainage or the holes or the breaches in the pool, it is felt that a child could be sucked down to the pool to a drain. And certainly there's no one in this room that even want to think about that. There's that. The pool house is not ADA accessible. There are areas of it that are crumbling. The structure does not appear to be up to code. There's no sprinkler systems. So there's a whole host of concerns about the facility itself. The feeling is that it is at this point in disrepair as it is and requires capital improvement. With that, this report came out after the submission to the Planning Commission. As you know, inadvertently, it was put on and was a part of capital, not allowed by the charter. So it was taken off. So as you know, the grant writer, along with certainly the endorsement of the council in the work of the administration, working with Senator Reed's and White House's offices, are trying to obtain a $2.8 million grant. So that could be an option at this time. One of the considerations that is being, we've asked to be considered to be placed on the ballot is additional bond money to be approved by the voters as a potential other alternative to allow for capital expenditures and recreation. That's an option. And we've kind of haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg in terms of the use of ARPA funds, which could be considered, I think, through a lot of discussion with this group, this body, and the recommendation. But there is no money in operating expenditures to safely open the pool at this time. And it looks as if it's going to be an investment in order to get there.
And can I still have the answer to the question of which specific department and line item was the payment for this report originating from, and what was the actual bill?
It's going to reside in the Parks and Recreation Department budget.
If I can interject, that is recreation expenses account 55006.
And would you have an exact amount?
On the bill, it was 13,875.
Directed to Saglia, do you think you can email me a copy of the bill?
Sure.
Thank you.
It might be probably be in the morning.
Of course, that's fine. Through the chair, I don't have any other discussion on this topic unless my colleagues do.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Thank you, Council Chairman. Council Marino and I, we share the same sentiment about this whole report. I question, I'm not gonna come back to it because I question it the day I heard about it. I thought it would be biased because we did not, well, I don't know, probably there may be some other company that were, if they were a bid or not. So I think if it was transparent, we will not have to ask those questions about it because the pool, as all of us, we want it to be open, and doing things in transparency would really prevent us to asking those questions we will know. So I'm learning how we do things here. What is the culture? So we just call someone and then giving a job, or we open it for many companies to choose the best bid. So that's my question that need to be answered. I'm disappointed because we know there is no way we can open the pool the way it is right now. Council Marino and I, we have a tower at the pool, and one of the things is what I saw there is not something that happened in 2 years. And I said that before. There should be someone accountable for making those decisions. But now where we go from here? So does somebody really think about those residents that use the pool every summer that do not have a backyard pool to cool off, that do not have the means to go to Narragansett Bay? So when it gets so hot, I wonder if somebody really take time to think about these residents that has the only thing they have when it's hot to go to. So that's the question I'm asking. I have right now, I know already, but I have a great concern about health, because the way the pool is with this water is a source for mosquitoes. So I would like to ask what.
Councilwoman Jermaine, I need you to stop, please, because we don't have a quorum.
Mr. Chairman, you can continue with the hearing.
We just can't vote,
The
right?
quorum sets the meeting and you need a quorum for a vote.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
So my great concern right now is about health. So what the administration think about, because this water that sit there is because of mosquitoes. So we have it sitting there. There is no plan to reopen it now, but what we're going to do with this water sitting there, is there a plan, Mr. Moiti? To
Answer that if you'd like.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That pool is a liner that was put in a few years ago that has continuously leaked since they put in, has had to be removed. And if you take all the water out of it, and we've pumped it a few times to get the levels down. We've pumped it out over the winter, right before the winter, maybe once after. You get if you don't leave water in there, it doesn't keep it taut. So what will happen is the water that's coming from the basin underneath and the water table will push up against this liner, and it could basically just rip it, bust it, or whatever. So it has to have some level of water in it to maintain its tautness around the perimeter of the pool. And again, this is all, I'm getting this from doing my research from the guy that put the liner in, from people that, Public Works, from people, my guys that have worked there. So I'm learning about the process of that pool. It was an interesting thing to find some of the things out there also.
So my question is when this water sit in there, is it safe for the environment? Is it safe for the neighborhoods who are?
Water, you're correct. The water is going to attract mosquitoes. The whole area is wetlands, but I'm sure, and if we have to keep it that way through the summer, that we can do something to counterpart, the bugs or whatever. I mean, there are organizations that'll spray down there for us if that's the concern.
Director, do you have a plan to encounter any mosquitoes or issue that will arise?
At this point, I do not, but we can easily put one in.
Okay. So I have complaints. I have complaints about a lot of other residents that have dumpsters in their backyard that, keep mosquitoes. And what I heard is like, if we as a city, we're not taking care of our own, how we can tell a resident, hey, you have to take care of these dumpsters you have in your backyard that is a shelter for mosquitoes. So I think
basically what you're saying is that, we should take care of the mosquito problem, which I said I'd look into tomorrow.
Thank you, Director.
Mr. Chairman, we need to stay to agenda items for open meetings purposes.
Thank you, Council. I would like to remind everyone we need to stay to the agenda items for the purpose of open meeting rules. Are there any other discussion on any of the items that Councilwoman Marino specifically addressed about the pool? Councilwoman Renzulli.
Hi, thank you. Director Chesalia, in discussions with the architects who you met there, who I'm assuming had some part in this report at least, did they give any steps forward for all the small plans that were there? Do they have more details that they could provide if we decided to go with one of those routes?
I'm sure they'd be accommodable. I'm sure they would help us out if we had asked to elaborate on some of the stuff that was in the report and how to move forward with that. I'm sure they would be of assistance.
Okay, and maybe this is an attorney question. Is there any other process to get this done without going through the planning committee?
Absolutely not. It has to be part of the capital budget.
So this can definitely not happen until like a year from now, correct? As it has to go through the capital budget
It has
into
to go
next
through
July.
planning. It has to go through the capital budget, and this council has to approve it.
Okay, all right, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, next item on the agenda from Councilwoman Marino is Park Place Theater.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
The question Council Marino asked, it has not been answered, and I need this answer too. The question.
Which question?
Who contracted the company to do this work? We don't know. Council Marino asked this question, and I have this question. I need this answer too.
Director Tesalia worked with Mr. Marchese in purchasing, and this vendor was chosen from their qualified engineering and architectural list. Typically, it's used more often by the Public Works Director, but in this case, this architect, the firm, was on that list, and they're chosen from that list.
Despite what the administration and Director Tesaglia have said this evening, I can tell you, I'm not satisfied with that explanation because it's not what I understand to be the proper procedure in which to have this type of report conducted. So I just want to be abundantly clear. And to the point of like Councilwoman Renzulli, referencing, well, maybe we can go back to them for more information. I cannot be clearer. That is, I believe, a clear mistake. We do not know the qualifications of these people. And I'm sure you had good intentions. I just want to make it clear to the administration that this is extremely problematic. And the person maybe was an architect. Great. What does that have to do with pools? That might be great for the building, but not for the pool itself. This report, I find, lacks merit. That's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jermaine.
Yes, for the resident who is listening, they have asked a lot of questions about the cost that was proposed in the report. The question was asked again, how much it costs for this report? I maybe missed that. Say how much it costs for this report.
$13,000.
$13,875. Thank you so much.
And if anyone from the public is listening, that report is available on the city's website if you'd like to see it. Councilwoman Vargas.
Thank you. Director Murray, I just want to be clear and just for the clarification that there was no bid waiver either given on this proposed company? Was there or was there not, I guess is my question.
I had asked Director Tasalia to take the segment. So if perhaps he can ask, reply to that. I believe not. If it was chosen, Mr. Marchese indicated there was a list of these professional architects and engineers, and it was from that list. Did it go in front of the BOCAP? I don't recall it going in front of BOCAP.
I looked at the meeting minutes for BOCAP and I could not find it going back a year.
Hence my reason for asking. Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. And it goes to, I think this is the part where really people sometimes don't trust government, right? Because we have a study report that's coming before us, at which point is over, what, it's about 13,000, give or take, you had, I think roughly had said, right? What's that?
Yes.
13,000, yep, 875, high amount, did not go through the board, didn't get a waiver. And I would hate the perception of the outside, just our taxpayers and everyone to say, this is the I know a guy kind of a person or a company, whether or not it happened that way. It's just, it should go through the proper channels. And so versus just saying, well, these are the top 2 or top 3 companies that the director or in absence of the public works director, so forth have, it's just not as transparent as a process should have been. That's obviously just one part of the problem. But I'm not going to sit here and be redundant because a lot of the questions that I had were actually asked. And I appreciate my fellow colleagues for taking the lead on asking those questions, much of which constituents in the Ward 1 area also have in terms of what are the next plans for the pool. At one point, I believe you had mentioned, Director, that there would be the Park View pool, at least for that side of town, would be open. Is that a plan?
Director Tasalia, there was discussion on that.
Yes, we have talked to administration about Parkview and how we're going to get people there, or if they can go by themselves. We are investigating that.
When will you know by, given the fact that it's June? Because I think we had this very similar conversation a few months ago. And I think even some point last year too, when the pool was closed too.
As far as, I'm sorry, Councilwoman?
When would you be able to wrap that up in terms of whether or not the Parkview pool would be used at least as an alternative option, not as a going forward option?
Yeah, I mean, it is an alternative option. It's not the pool experience or the outdoor experience and the sun and the fun, and the destination of it. But I could, figure that out this week. I would call over there and we'll see if it's an opportunity we want to take advantage of.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item, Park Place Theater. Councilwoman Marino.
Thank you. This agenda item of the Park Place Theater is, I was inquiring as to the production in terms of the prior owner's contract with the city and the new owner's contract with the city. Just this afternoon, I received a copy of the contract. Thank you to Director Moretti and Solicitor Millet. It was the 2017 contract. So if the administration could just confirm, there has not been a new contract that's been entered into. It's just, you're assuming it's a transfer due to the sole ownership change of the business.
That is what I've been informed. I wasn't party to it, but correct.
Thanks. And then I also was looking to see production of the insurance binder and the actual policy of insurance in place with respect to that business's use of the parking lot. Previously, one of the owners, I think it's Mr. Quinlan, when he appeared before the Safety Services Commission, had stated that he did in fact have an insurance binder that was produced to the city.
Councilwoman Marina was gracious enough last week to send me an email requesting those two items. And immediately I requested Solicitor Malay to look into it and produce the insurance binder or any document of additional insured along with the lease, the lease agreement or the arrangement. He has not gotten back to me, and I apologize for that on behalf of Mr. Malay, but I promise to look into it again. Again, I have to just leave it at that. Sometimes you have to depend on people that work for you when you can't do everything yourself. And I apologize because of
Nope.
that.
Understood. I appreciate that. What we'll do is we'll just continue it to next month's Finance Committee meeting so that we'll hopefully have that information and answer at that time. Thank you.
Any discussion on that matter? Moving on, I have 3 items on the agenda myself. The first would be, we would like the administration to share with the council at this time what the actual plan is to alleviate the structural deficit that we are facing.
The bottom line is there is an in-process action plan to address the growth of government over the years and the issues facing the city and the various communities regarding the pandemic that's caused stress, financial stress, along with some of those issues previously discussed about the funding of some past funding for reserves, et cetera. I'm not going to hop on the situation about the budget process, but I don't think anyone was pleased with what happened. But as you might recall, there were approximately $1 million or $1 million plus that the administration acquiesced with the Councilwoman Renzulli. The mayor has imposed I'll call it phase 1 contingency plan to implement those budget reductions anyway. So the department heads are tasked, the administration is tasked with running to a budget less that million or $1.1 million, regardless. I'll describe those many cuts you might recall or changes to the budget that pretty much eliminated wiggle room for spending. Frankly, as you'll know, excluding additional funding to the schools this past year and the year before, the mayor didn't initiate any new spending programs. But we have recognized after the budget was submitted, just a little story, and I think some of you already know this, in terms of the budget review process, the mayor, the administration, I'm gonna say third floor, was as it typically had been before, informed of the collation of the budget. And that's when it was recognized there was significant shortage in the budget. So within 48 hours, basically, the administration, the mayor's budget had to react. And was it perfect? No. But it was a reaction to the process and knowing what had to have been done. And that a tax increase has been proposed of 2.85%, as we know. And there is an issue of the budget gap needing to be filled in time. So it's been taken very serious, extremely serious, let me say that. So at that time, we went through the process, but now we decided to impose that 1.1. what we're calling the contingency phase one, where we're working with a contingency plan phase two that cuts deeper, unfortunately, into the city infrastructure. And we're trying to find ways of mitigating any collateral damage, frankly, that may be as a result of it. And it's going to be cuts that are going to hurt. So we're looking at those kind of at this point. I think it'd be unfair if I disclose it's a work in process. And we're trying to work with the bargaining units who've been more than gracious to us so far to share in this pain and concern. And so that's where we are. We'll have to see how deep we can go. We're looking at many things. We've imposed hiring freezes, except for essential personnel. Anything to be cleared through the mayor's office. People cannot routinely replace positions. Just one second, I kind of have a list. Where's the directive about overtime any overtime must be approved at the third floor, except delegating for safety purposes to the fire chief and the police chief, but they're under the directive of necessity. The same thing with non-essential purchases, just fundamentally operating the nuts and bolts of the city. We're banning any out-of-state travel, for seminars and the like, that type of thing. If there's any, I don't think that's very pervasive, frankly, but it's something that would be in bad taste, I think. So we're holding back on that. We're looking at ways of saving gasoline costs or diesel costs with more effectively or efficiently having our employees running around the city as building maintenance, highway, et cetera, to do it in a more efficient manner, trying to look at ways of doing that. And as we said, we're certainly discussing things with the laborers, with the Teamsters. We hit a point with the firefighters that we suspended negotiations in light of the recent events. We want to hope of resuming those negotiations and asked police if we can open the contract there also. We have meetings scheduled with the libraries to see what possibly what can be done. There's a whole host of initiatives, but there's no one magic bullet, if you will. And this kind of relates back to the discussion with Councilwoman Marino about the collaboratives. It's kind of all in part of these efforts that we're doing. So it's not just we're going after one thing. There's many approaches that we're taking to, we're calling it reduce the size of government. So those are just a handful of things. And so it is a work in process. And hopefully we'll have an update in a month or so as to next steps.
Councilwoman Marino.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Moretti, for what you stated this evening. But as we are sitting here meeting, I've had at least 3 people reach out to me with respect to a press release that I assume was issued today, since the article from the news station aired at, looks like 5:30 this evening. And it specifically states that it was a press release from the mayor dealing with the structural deficit. So since we have the luxury of the communications director, whose role it is to send out press releases, I would like to know when that press release was sent to the press and why it was not provided to council.
Would you like to answer that?
Press releases, it's been common practice for press releases to go to the press. I think this forum is a great place for council to ask questions regarding things that come up in the mayor's office, but it has been practice that we have issued press releases to the press.
I, to be clear, am not asking about general practice. I am asking about the specific press release that deals with the structural deficit that I'm sure the administration was well aware of, that we would be speaking of tonight. And the administration, through you as the communications director, put out a press release that at least aired as of 5:30 this evening. So I am asking you, when did you send that press release to the press and not the council?
Sure thing. About 4:45, I believe.
And to be clear, then, it is your general practice, since you brought it up, that you do not take part in sending to the council of the city issues of importance that the mayor is sending out to the press as a press release. Is that my understanding of you this evening? That's your general practice. I just want to be clear on that.
Sure. Yes, I usually send press releases out to the press. I don't think I have sent press releases in the past to the council as a.
I can tell you now, Mr. Paiva, that we and the residents who pay your salary, I don't find that acceptable. And I will take pleasure in putting forth an ordinance that is going to require that those press releases get shared with the council before they go out to the press, because that is not a huge ask, especially on a topic as important as this. And if there is anger in my tone this evening, you are correct.
Councilwoman Vargas.
Thank you. Director Moretti, and I agree with the sentiments that Councilwoman Marina has just put forward. There were conversations, I guess you had just said, with the Teamsters, the laborers, and probably so many. I'm just curious why none of those conversations, unless I'm wrong, have been expressed or funneled through our finance chairman, or were even, I'm not sure either, our council president's not here with us this evening due to, obviously, he has his personal reasons for that, which I respect. But I'm wondering, were they ever expressed to the council president? Were they ever shared at all with our finance committee chair? Because obviously they weren't shared with myself or any of the other council members in terms of the stages, in terms of what you're trying to do in terms of whether they're furloughs, layoffs, negotiations being on hold, if there are layoffs, or will there be layoffs, you know, or what you're trying to do in hopes to save the city some money.
Yeah, we don't have answers to those questions. We're working with these people. They're cooperating. They're doing what they can. They feel they hurt as much as we do. We are not in the position to divulge personnel discussions, as I'm sure you're aware. And that is your fundamental explanation as to we cannot, should not, and be bound to involve personnel decisions, names, any ideas specifically at this point, other than to say what I expressed.
But what you expressed without, I'm not asking for names, was that shared with our council president? Was it shared with our, finance committee chairman in terms of some of?
I believe not. And there comes a point where the city has to operate, and there has to be some administrative leadership in the relationships that we share with these union leaders, that there has to be a trust, and that we're not going to babble everything we say and do. So we have a responsibility to them in keeping with that trust. And we will inform you as there's anything reportable to say. We're not going to, this is not a work in process. I believe we're not required, and let Mr. Attorney, if you could say if we're required to share with the council work in process information.
I'm not sure it's a legal question. The council legislates and the administration administers the day-to-day affairs of the city. To the extent that things are shared with the council president or the chair of a committee from a practical standpoint, it would seem that that's important. But it's not a legal issue.
Thank you. Now, in terms of the actual city services, is that part of one of some of your host of initiatives that you're trying that would impact city services in terms of, you just said there might be
There are
some pause in
considerations.
negotiations, anything along those lines?
There's consideration, there's discussions. Sure. We don't want to scare people for the sake of scaring people. We'd like to be, you do the work to try to get things done, and you announce definitive plans to demonstrate leadership. We don't want to say the sky is falling, and it's not. And we don't want to give that impression to anyone in the city, because it's not true. So with that, there's got to be some level of prudence and some flexibility for the mayor to do his job. As to the press releases, I believe that was a mistake, that press releases have been asked to be shared with the city council. I assumed it was done. I think it was inadvertent. It wasn't intentional on the administration. And I cannot double check everything everyone does. It's their job performance. We have to evaluate whether they're doing a good job or not.
I understand that, but I assume communication in terms of press releases have to be authorized or approved by someone. Are they approved by you before they go out?
They approved by the mayor.
By the mayor. And in terms of that press release, just not, I'm not trying to get out of line here, but the fact that it says that the Democratic Party rejected those budget saving changes in terms of the budget, let's just take a note that we weren't the only ones who voted against it. There was another Republican member here who just left from the Finance Committee a little early, that participated in that vote as well. So I just want to make sure if we're going to have a message on a press release, have it right, or don't have one at all.
Well,
Thank you. I'm done.
You're welcome.
Okay, Director Moretti, just about 2 minutes ago, you used the word trust. And I want to trust that we've sat here when contracts have come up and money has been spent, and we've asked the questions, can we afford this? Can we afford that contract? Can we afford to do these things? And you've always said yes, but yet you've never shared any of the information once we hit the budget and there were problems. You did not come back to us. You didn't come to the finance chair. You didn't try and sit down with our caucus. You did not make us aware of any of the problems. And how can we continue to trust when the budget, first of all, as Councilwoman Marino said, was an F? It uses half the COVID money. It creates a $12 million structural deficit. Now you're telling us you have a plan, but you don't share the plan with us until I got to get it by 5 texts from friends of mine that are sitting on YouTube and Zoom right now, or they're just telling me, did you know about this? This is what, and you use the word trust. I'm sorry. I don't trust that you're being fair to this entire council.
You're not accurate, sir. If your council majority leader is not doing his job in communicating to your caucus, that is not the responsibility of the administration.
You met with John Donegan 3 weeks ago, and you have not gotten back to him since then.
Exactly.
And haven't come back to him since then, and he's not the finance
We
chair.
are right about to schedule a meeting with Council President Paplakis, and because there is no council minority leader, I believe, and Mr. Donegan again. So absolutely correct, but we're not having weekly meetings. And as to that press release, I agree. Council should have been on it. But to say we haven't communicated, that's not fair. You didn't present a balanced case until I had to retort. So please be fair, and that could help develop trust also.
If I may, through the chair, to be clear, I do want a copy of the actual press release that our communications director, Mr. Paiva, sent out today, and I expect that this evening. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jermaine.
Thank you. As I'm sitting here, I thought we were progressing. Because I remember one meeting we are here when we were talking about Council Marino say better communication. And I remember it right now. Mr. Moetti, you were right there standing up there and you have a crisis, a symptom
We don't want
over Council Marino when she asked, let's have better communication. We are one city. We all here to work for the betterment of the resident of Queenstown. Those action when Mr. Director say that's the way he does things, he doesn't send press release. So this is a little ask to share communication because it is done to show or one group look well or one group look bad. Is that the culture? But I think we should do things, find common ground to do for the resident of Queenstown. It's not about one person, I'm saddened, really. A communication of such importance went out and none of us were aware of that. And I know I'm probably Mr. Peva does not intentionally, I know I gave him the benefit of the doubt that that's what he wanted to say when he says not generally to share the communication press release with the council. When you share the information, we do not ask you to say back and forth, oh, you don't want this in your communication. That's not what we ask. We know the administration has the leadership to take position, but at least we know what's going on. That's why we ask, nothing less. And standing up right here to say, we've been communicating, this is a tangible evidence that this administration doesn't want to communicate, doesn't want to work together. That's the proof. That's not acceptable because we all are working for the resident of Queenstown, not for one person. So please, can you share this press release with all of us as Council Marino asked? Yes,
and he's been instructed to, and for that inadvertent error, I assume it's inadvertent. And as I mentioned, we are talking, we intentionally had a meeting with Councilman Donegan. Hopefully, apparently he didn't inform you because nobody knew what was going on. But we can't control that. But we intend to meet with Mr. Donegan again and also Mr. Poplakis. It'll be this week because that was certainly something. We don't have a lot to report back on at this point. It's a lot of uncertainty. So I'm not quite sure what we can update because we don't have further answers than what we shared with you today. So, but once we have answers, be thrilled to invite you into the loop.
Councilwoman Marino.
Thank you. I don't take any pleasure in saying this, but it has to be said because it's the truth and it pains me. To your point of, basically not wanting to cause a panic or cause fear, I can tell you honestly that since last Thursday, I have heard from numerous residents in the city, some employees of the city that have used that exact word of they're scared and they're afraid. So the ship has sailed, even though that may have been the intent to keep it, from council members or not, but to keep it quiet, whatever it was, whatever that concern is for not sharing it more broadly yet with us. The ship has sailed. There is already that fear out there. Because
there is nothing
I
that
was inundated. If I can finish, it continued into Sunday. That's all that I just want you to be aware.
There is nothing that we are being as open, transparent with these gentlemen that are here, along with other people in the union leadership. I have offered my presence at any meeting that they wish me to be there to explain exactly where we are, with the city. And we are communicating. We thought the right thing to do was communicate directly with the union representative, union leadership, their representatives, and work with them versus when word gets to those people, we cannot control that. We feel for those people that may be affected and they might not be. We feel more than you think we feel. But unfortunately, we can't control. If once a discussion gets out, you're absolutely right. But it went through the proper channels. And that's the most important thing, that they received it the right way versus from the outside, they received it from the inside out.
I'm not saying that you don't feel. I'm sure this is not giving anybody comfort or pleasure. I just want to make sure that it's clear that the concern is apparently already tangible and being expressed, because I know I'm hearing it and have heard it. So I just
Thank
want
you,
to
but
know.
I can't think of a better way, unfortunately, in a terrible situation, than to speak directly to those people or the way that the union representatives want us to communicate. I can't think of a better way. If you think of a better way, we'll be happy to receive that input. Thank you.
Councilwoman Manzulli.
Thank you. Director Moretti, in the past, I can say this, the press release thing, this is not the first time it's happened. So I didn't know when we would get press release. I've seen it on Facebook and then gotten the press release. So I don't know. I am unclear if we can interfere with an administrative matter to say you have to send us a press release when you send it to the press, but that is your job to make a policy, I believe, or is it, as Councilwoman Marino suggested, do one of us need to put in an ordinance to do so? It may be legal. I'm a little confused because this came up once when Councilman Donegan and I tried to put something through Public Works and we were told we can't interfere with administrative functions.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the notion of composing an ordinance to direct the administration as to how various positions and functions should occur outside of what's in the charter, it can be construed as interference with the day-to-day operations of the administration. The duties of Mr. Paiva are determined by his employer in the administration. It's just that simple. It's a matter of cooperation. It's not a matter of legislation.
And that's fine. That will save me the trouble of an ordinance. And every time that something such as this occurs, it will be, brought to light, but hopefully it will not occur, because again, it's a disservice to the city as a whole and to residents. It's not productive. We do want to work in unison, and I appreciate and take Director Moretti at his word that it was just mere inadvertence and oversight, and that is not the intention going forward, and we will see from there.
I
Thanks.
understand your concern and I empathize. And again, that will make sure, I will make sure it's in my tickler to make sure that happens. I'll do that personally.
Councilwoman Jermaine. You done with Councilwoman? Councilwoman Jermaine.
So what I want to say is, I'm not in the finance committee. I'm not an expert in finance, but we want to do things fairly, with transparency, with truth, the word truth, the facts. I remember at the budget hearings, when this budget was presented, each department head was sitting there and were asked, what changing? Because we all know the budget has issue. We knew there was issue. And we asked each one of them, what could you do to make it less expensive? What you could do? Each one of them answered, no, there's nothing we can do. For the truth, they said no. And I know this budget was presented as it was like the best. When we refute the budget, okay, we said, no, that's not working, it's not good like that. Now, there is all those negotiation on the tables, and that could be done before the budget. And I'm asking, where is the will to do the good really come from? So for the truth, each head department says they were asked. I remember Council Chair of Finance, Vice President asked this question to each one of them. So if there was a way to do things, why we go from there to here? Why? That's the question. What is the purpose of that? If they could do something, is there a pressure right now? Or is it just after the budget and the administration eyes open and see, oh, that was really bad and we have to fix it? But I understand, but I know we're good at communicating. That's a really strong, strong in the agenda to communicating really things that's not true. Because if we are fair, if we're being transparent, we all know that budget we could do better with it. So after we say, no, it's not good, and now there's things that can be done, and we do it under the table, and we don't ask to have all the details, but if there's something that has to be done, we should be now. I don't know what it says because I haven't had a chance to read the press release. So we are the bad guys. Yes, we are the bad guys. But if the budget was so good, why we have those changes right now? Let's be clear. Why we have the changes right now if it was so good? Now we are the bad guys? Come on. So I think this is a lesson for everybody. If there is thing we can do for the good of the resident of Queensland, let's do it. Where we can make compromise, where we can make concession, let's do it. But don't pretend at first it was perfect, and now when we see all the issue and suddenly we see the structural deficit, $12 million, and now we see things has to be the other ways, and okay, we are the bad guy in this. But if we do, because if we take ownership, we should take ownership, whoever take ownership for this budget, the way it was presented. And now what we're doing right now, and then just something just doesn't add up. And I think we should, get rid of those old culture, the way we do things here, for the better of the resident of Queenstown. We need to do things differently. That's my hope, really. Because we are Queenstown. We want to see, Queenstown flourish. We want our residents to be happy. They have clean environment. We need them to be safe. We need them to have quality schools. We need them to enjoy life in Queenstown. But those kind of things cannot be done in silos. He needs collective cooperation. He needs all of us. All of us. Not one man show, not one woman show. It's all of us.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move on. Please make it short.
I will. Thank you, Chairman. Given the fact to the Director Moretti that some of these conversations that the mayor's offices has been having, whether it's with the Teamsters, just the unions overall, right? At that point, am I correct to say that if we were called for an executive session, then we would be actually privileged to have that information at all, in terms of, given the fact, and I'm not asking for staff, employees named, but given the fact you say the sensitivity of the matter before us on some issues, because otherwise I would be requesting or calling for an executive session on this.
On that, I would defer to what the administration could say, share, whatever the legal, the attorneys have
Thank
to
you.
say. Certainly comply.
Thank you. To our legal counsel,
Under the Open Meetings Act, you can confer an executive session for purposes of personnel matters and collective bargaining matters. So
thank you. So that answers my question. So that is a yes. Thank you. So we should be calling an executive session then. And I believe it takes only 3 members, or can the finance chair call for any executive session?
it's an agenda matter. So whoever structures the agenda.
Right. All right. So through the chair. you can call
I'll
for that.
take care of it.
Thank you.
I'd like to continue my second item here about the ARPA funds until the next meeting. And I do have one other item on here. We would like to know the plans and status of hiring a finance director, and we ask that you can please be as specific as possible.
No one has expressed interest. We're recycling the networking, just like we did before with the League of Cities and Towns. And word of mouth is how other people potential came about. There is no interest expressed to us from anyone. In fact, quite the opposite. They're concerned about someone who has a viable job, putting themselves out there at the risk of not being accepted. So that's been conveyed to us on a couple of occasions. So we're concerned, and there's been no interest. And we know how critical it is, but we can't get blood out of a rock at this point.
So there is no one applying for the job.
Correct.
And have you addressed what you need to do to change that? Like what steps need to be taken to get somebody interested in the job?
We exhausted what we could previously, and we're calling upon those. So if there's any, no, to answer your question, anything new, it was exhaustive the last time when we thought we had an extremely competent person. Council respectfully disagreed. But no, there's no new, fresh, innovative ways of recruiting.
No, my question is, have you tried to figure out what it is you need to do differently to get someone interested in the job, whether it be a pay raise, a different kind of structure with the job, a different description of the job? I'm just thinking out loud here. Has there been any plan to try and change the application process to get someone interested in the position? Because if it's not being, if no one's responding as it stands, then obviously a change or some changes need to be made to get someone interested in the position. So I'm asking, is anything being done to address that?
Nothing different. Salary commitment commensurate with experience. As I said, there's more of a deterrent coming to Cranston. It's not as, it's questionable. So we've turned some people off and word gets around. So if anything, I think a barrier has been created that we didn't have before, but we're still, it doesn't matter. We still have to persevere.
So we have no deadline to meet? Or
we can't force someone to take the finance position if they're not interested.
Councilwoman Marino?
Thank you. Where have we specifically advertised or posted for the position?
The website, the advertise via the meetings with the leagues of cities and towns.
So
the networking, speaking again with the people at the Rhode Island Division of Municipal Finance, Auditor General's Office. A billboard we don't think is going to be effective, or an ad in the Providence Journal.
So to be clear, conversations have taken place with the entities that you mentioned, League of Cities and Towns, the Auditors General. On the city's website, the job is posted?
It was, it should be, I spoke to Mr. Perillo today, and he says that was requested to be posted.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
It's on the personnel page.
Okay. And not in terms of, you didn't advertise in the Providence Journal, but in terms of Indeed or some of those larger web companies, you haven't posted there?
I believe not. I can ask Mr. Perillo.
And how about with respect to the option of hiring a recruiter? I would think after we exhaust the issue,
We don't have a-
after we exhaust the issue of at least posting on like an Indeed or something like that, the option of a recruiter, but we'd have to put that out to bid. I mean, that is a vital role, we all agree. And clearly, just looking within the walls of Rhode Island is not going to necessarily be enough.
There's no money in the budget for to pay a recruiter, nor do we have relocation money in the budget to attract someone. That's why we didn't pursuing that avenue at this time.
So the plan before even having the budget and even during the budget was just for you to just do word of mouth, and that remains the plan?
Exactly what we did before. It's a smaller community than you think. The number of people that, yeah, that's why we had a terrific candidate. And would have done a bang-up job, especially to lead us through difficult times that have that depth and breadth of experience. Obviously, the council thought differently. And so we don't want to be put on the defensive on this. We will be as diligent as we possibly can to recruit. Believe me, the administration has the greatest vested interest for the city of Cranston to recruit a finance director. So it's not our intention to stall.
We need to move beyond what hasn't happened and try to actively pursue someone in that role. And I don't think that from what you've described, there's enough activity to try and pursue somebody in that role. I'm not saying it's easy, but there are other options that are available that don't cost a
I
lot
will
of money.
be happy to pass that along to Director Perillo.
Councilwoman,
I'm sorry, I just had one quick question. Please let me know if I'm out of the agenda and I can gladly add it to the executive session or even actually on to the actual agenda item for the next finance or city council meeting, actually. I know that the mayor was calling for help of like union and everyone else to kind of tighten up. And I'm just curious whether or not with a recent press release that went out, whether or not the mayor is still going to be giving his directors a 3% salary increase, given everything that you're asking of everyone.
With all due respect, this is not an agenda item.
I figured, but I figured I just if wasn't too sure, but thank you. I'll add that to the next city council meeting if we don't mind, the June council meeting as council communication asked. Thank you.
thank you. Director Moretti, please don't take any of what we're asking you personally tonight. This is a serious matter. We're getting many, many phone calls, emails from people that are very concerned about their tax bills. And I feel that it is our responsibility to clear the air on any of these items that they ask us the question. So with no further ado, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn. Councilwoman Renzulli.
I apologize. My hand was like this, but I thought you were asking him something else. May I ask a question?
Please.
It's relative.
Okay.
I would just like to know if the approval of the budget as it stood from the beginning raised the salary of the finance director. Did that happen as it was in the budget? And so the person that I'm just asking, because the person that we're looking for now, are we looking for someone who will take $108,000 or 135? Where did we ever land there? Because I don't think we landed anywhere, and that's going to change who wants to do this job, because I could see why no one would want to do this job.
That was adopted in the budget. Would we pay the maximum if we don't have the person qualified with those qualifications? Absolutely not.
I believe that was in the adopted budget and it went up to like 130 something, right?
Okay, so we can advertise, we can find somebody at a higher rate, correct?
What salary range are you advertising?
At this point, salary commensurate with experience. We could have different people applying at different experience and qualification levels. So we don't want to have to overpay if someone we have to groom and work with. And if we have a superstar, we request to have that person at the higher end of that. So it's commensurate with experience and negotiable, if you will.
Thank you.
With the range though, is the number there at all? I'm just asking. Do you know what I mean? Because commensurate was, if someone saw it who had that, they don't have any idea.
Mr. Perillo and I thought it best to leave it commensurate with experience. If there's an interest, that that's one of the soon-to-be topics. If it's out there that someone gets in their mind, that's a decent person that's qualified for the position, they might think that they're at the $200,000 level. We might think at the 100. But the point is, you don't want to give over expectation at the same time. So
I totally understand. Is it, I don't want to be too forward, or I was a recruiter for a long time. I'm just wondering if maybe saying 108 to 135 commensurate with experience. And I don't know if we want to make sure the person is a CPA. I just don't want to do this again. So if that is what because I think that might be, like, we have a lot of issues here that we only get to meet once or twice a month, and I feel like we can't get past them. So I know that last time we found a person, or you found a person that you thought was excellent. I agreed. They were not a CPA, so they were out. Are we looking for a CPA now?
we're looking for anyone that meets the minimum qualifications in the charter.
But the CPA thing's not in the charter.
I never saw CPA in the charter.
Finance director. He was never a finance director. Let's be clear.
I'm just saying that, can I say something?
But that's what's required in the charter.
Okay, let's continue. Motion to adjourn? Anyone?
To adjourn.
Can I second that? Second. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.